we're starting now. We got 135 to what's no, but we're cutting it 145 to like 210ish.
Wow. Questions?
Yeah. Hey you. How you? Mama, of course. How are you? Yes. Brandon. Bless you. Facts. As you're coming in, just find a seat and let's try to lower our voices just a little bit. We're getting ready to begin in 2 minutes.
Yeah, I ain't print nothing out.
We have not had. Let me tell you something. This is probably I don't think Patrice is sensitive to have. I don't know why we're shooting it, but it's like it's only been around today for stuff. And it's been a lot going on. All right, so I'm going to introduce you and then, what's your title again? We're good? We're live? Right now? All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's give yourselves a round of applause. We are going to begin our panel for today, and I'm going to turn it right over to our moderator. This panel for today is the Entrepreneurship Blueprint panel and the Youth Entrepreneur Pitch Contest, strategy for the next generation. And we are so glad to have these esteemed panelists who Usman will let us know who they are. But to moderate our panel for this afternoon, we have Mr. Usman Diallo, who was a NAN Youth Huddle member, former leader here, former assistant director of the Youth and College Division, and he is now the policy aide and director to the Assemblyman, Al Taylor of the state of New York. Let's give Usman a great big hand as he comes to moderate this afternoon.
Good afternoon, family. How's everyone doing today? Good, good. Who here likes some money? Y'all don't like money enough. Who here likes some money? So today we're going to talk about how we're going to get it, how we get access to it, and how we keep some of that money. My name is Usman Diallo. I'm a former youth huddler here. I've been on panels with some of these people up here. Now I serve as the legislative director for New York State Assemblyman Al Taylor, which entails Harlem, Washington Heights, and Inwood. Serving the community that I grew up in, and none of this would be possible without NAN. So thank you very much to NAN. So this here today is not just about business. It's about ownership, access, and survival in the time of not only this Trump presidency, but people who think like him, where they coming after the Fearless Fund, they're coming after DEI, and they're coming after ways that we get access to capital and how we keep it. Is pivotal and important. Not only that, we bring young people into this conversation because they are our future, but the way we intel and hold on to some of the wins that we already got is important. So we have these esteemed members up here who are going to walk us through it, talk us through it, and so much more. So what I will first start off by is having panel Prophet over there start off by introducing himself, letting the people know who you are, and then we go straight down from there. Please give him a round of applause. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Prophet, the co-founder, president, and CEO of the Black Music Action Coalition, an organization that was formed in 2020 in response to the killing of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery. The music industry paused the show, and out of that, a movement grew, a movement of accountability. We sit at the intersection of social activism and music. I am a product of the National Action Network. It was the leadership and tutelage of the Reverend Al Sharpton that even prepared me for the role that I'm in today. And I thank God for allowing you all to be here 35 years later, and I'm honored to be on this panel.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brandon Robinson. Professionally, I go by Brandon Scoopy Robinson. By trade, I'm a sports and entertainment journalist. I've been in the industry for close to 30 years. Started in radio as a child, and currently I run my own company called Scoopy Enterprises Worldwide. You name an athlete, I've probably sat down with them, and I've been around NBA, basketball, football, baseball, everything in between. But more than anything else, I'm a friend of National Action Network, Reverend Al Sharpton, Ashley Sharpton as well. And I'm glad to be here just to talk about the industry at large, how to adjust, how to move around, and how to be self-enterprising in a world where there are no jobs. So thanks for having me.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shireen Wood. I'm also known as Shay, so please feel free to call me that. I am a serial entrepreneur. I'm president and CEO of 5001 Flavors. It's a custom clothing company that works with artists and entertainers. So you can think any and everybody that you know and love. Reverend Sharpton and even Reverend Richardson are clients of mine, so we keep everyone fly. I've probably worked with any and every athlete that you've worked with. I also am founder of Harlem Haberdashery, a retail store uptown in Harlem, 245 Lenox Avenue, where I am the matriarch of the First Family of Fashion. So it's a family-owned business now. We have our children and other family members working. My goal is to build a transferable legacy of business and opportunity, so I'm always continuing to start new businesses because you can't have 1, 2, or 3 streams of revenue. You have to have many. I'm also president and CEO of HH Bespoke Spirits. We have a portfolio of rum, gin, and vodka brand, so that is one of my exit strategies. We will soon talk about that. And I also believe that you have to take care of the community. I am board president of Take Care of Harlem, and so my goal is to amplify youth preservation and work with our community partners to make Harlem feel as good as I want everyone to look.
Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Livingston. I am the president of 100 Suits. I'm also under the tutelage of Reverend Sharpton and my sister Ashley and Dominique with Youth Huddle. I run 100 Suites about 15 years old now. We are an organization that is national now. We have offices in New York City, Memphis, Tennessee, Washington, D.C., and L.A. I'll be out there on Monday to do a cutting out there. Additionally, I also just started a concert company. I like to bring good music to our community, and so we started a branding where we'll be bringing in artists, mainly neo soul 90s artists. We have Dwelle coming August 6th to Jamaica, Queens, which is pretty dope. And then additionally, I started a lounge down in Williston, South Carolina to pump economic engine down there. I'm just excited to be here. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I like to make money.
We start off with introductions like that and them telling us about their impact, because oftentimes it's good to know who you're in the room with and what are their expertise and so on and so forth. So that's why I'm going to pull from one of our panelists. He said, in a time where there's no jobs, how do we become self-enterprising? So the questions we have is, in times like this, how do we sustain our own? How do we build our own? Because a lot of time is mystified, and how do we demystify that and give our culture and our people an understanding of what business is and how to become self-entrepreneurs? Take on that question first.
So I think that's a great place to start. I was surfing the web, and it was on social media last night. I saw a post. I posted it in my stories, and I think it's so relevant. I'm clicking. Give me 2 seconds. It was a post that said, this is really not the time to fumble a good partner, friendship, or business partner. You might never come back from it. It's nasty out here. And I think that's significant because I think it's not necessarily just who you know, but who knows you, and how you can barter services and also make a profit from it. I think in this time that we're in right now where there are no jobs, I think this is a perfect place to enhance the talents that you have that you've never been able to showcase because you've been so focused on what it is that you do. So I have basically listened to the three of you, and the one thing that I think we all have in common in some way is Harlem. And if you know anything about Harlem, we hustle, and hustle legally. But I think that's important. But somebody knows somebody, and I think whether that is, we all come from a place where we saw our grandmothers sell dinners. We saw our uncles who were mechanics. We saw, how do you do that in a corporate sense? And I think in this space that we're in, I think it's expanding on new talents and broadening our horizons on that level.
So I think I'm a perfect segue. I did a TEDx Harlem talk, and I talked about being the first legal entrepreneur of my family. And I started my business the day after my dad went to jail and is currently still in jail from a 1990 RICO charge. So it was survival. So some people are accidental entrepreneurs, and I knew the hustle. I knew who my dad was, but I know he had all of the skill sets but didn't have the right industry. And so I literally said that generational curses ran in my family until they ran into me. And so for me, it was about using the hustle that I know that I had. I'm from Harlem, so I definitely have the hustle. But it really was about changing my mindset and figuring out how I'm going to get this money, how I'm going to make it transferable, how I'm going to make it fun. And so we come from a long line of black and brown people that make everything better. What we need to do is learn how to formalize and monetize and make it work for us. And so I'm glad that we have conversations like this, because how many of us, our cousin Aisha, she braids hair. Our other cousin, she plans the most fabulous family trips with these coordinated outfits. So we have to start to identify that what we like to do is things that people are making brands and money off of. Scaling. There you go.
If y'all can allow me a point of privilege, I'll put in my second question in with that because it's a perfect segue, which is, what was the turning point where you shifted from hustle culture to structure, which is scaling, which is delegation, which is building systems to help you navigate through the traverse waters of business. And while you guys think on that, I'm going to introduce my co-moderator, Tatiana Hill, here, and let her introduce herself. Come on.
Good afternoon, everybody. Apologies for my tardiness. Nobody told me about the New York traffic. We're from Las Vegas. I'm the youth president of the Las Vegas chapter. This is a great panel I wanted to be a part of, and I'm glad that they asked me to be a part of. So in Las Vegas, I'm the National Action Network Youth President. I'm also a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. I am also the VP of the Miss Corporate America pageant. I also host that and help that in Nevada, amongst other things in the state of Nevada. But also I am the momager for a food truck owner called Chili Barkers, and he has started when he was at the age of 12, and he is now ready to franchise. So he won the scholarship, the pitch last year. He's not here. He's in college. I'm sorry. He's gone headstrong in school. He's in every organization he's going. So he's got his food truck going while we're here. Plus, we're getting ready to get him franchised in either South Carolina or Atlanta. So he's ready to open up his second truck.
Bring it to Atlanta.
Bring it to Atlanta?
Bring it to
Okay. I'll make sure I put the bug in. So we're looking to take over the month of June and get some work out there. So if y'all make sure y'all connect with me and let me know what's out there, and we get him set up right. But this segue, thank you, Usman, for bringing me on, and thank you, Ashton, everybody. But this segue for entrepreneurship, I feel like it's dear to my heart. And the next question, I know he did ask, this one right here. What is the turning point where you shifted from hustle to structure?
So I'll start. First, I'm familiar with Harlem, but I rep Jamaica, Queens. Shout out to Queens. I just want to make that clear.
Queens get the
You
money.
ain't have no choice in that.
Queens get the money.
GTM.
No, but for me, what shifted me to structure was failure. I always came under the ideology, if I fail more than you, I win. And running a foundation, a company, you have to have your stuff together. And I've had enough doors shut in front of me to make me realize that I needed to have structure. And one of the smartest things I did was hire people who were smarter than me. Right on, right? And once I started to shift, because my company is 15 years old, we didn't start making money till 5 years ago.
Come on now.
Right on. And I brought on the godsend. Her name is Nefertiti. Shout out to her. And this woman has master's degrees and all over the place. She made me rewrite my life. Right on. And once we had structure in place, those contracts that were 20,000 turned to 200,000, the 200,000 to 1.2, and then so forth and so on. But this is just applicable to life, right? You can't chase your own tail and expect a different outcome. Right on.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
I would say, for me, a couple things. One, I'm from the Bronx, so shout out to the X, and we love Harlem. We love Harlem, but I am from the Bronx. Currently living in Atlanta, which is why I would love for your son to bring his franchise. By the way, if you don't know her son, get to know him. He is one of the leaders of tomorrow and today, and I'm very proud of that young brother and all that he's accomplishing. But, you know, the wealth gap in this country isn't by accident. No. We understand from a historical standpoint that black economies have always shown up here in America and always been met with levels of resistance. So the ability to be an entrepreneur is innately in us as a people. When Brother talked about grandma cooking and selling dinners, or the mechanic, that's the entrepreneurial spirit, or even our sister's father, who might have used his corporate skills to do some other things. Let's be clear that it required skill to run any operation, whether legal or illegal. But for me, who's now running a foundation, an organization, and to our brother's point, it absolutely requires the same skill set as it would any sort of Fortune 500 company. I think I read somewhere a couple weeks ago or last week that Nan just purchased a pretty significant piece of real estate in Harlem. And you're not able to grow and build and scale like that without having a business acumen. One thing I would share with you all is there's a book I read when you ask about what turns hustle, when the pivot from hustle to actual, developing infrastructure. There's a book I read about 20 years ago called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And the second habit was think with the end in mind first. We have to see it. We have to be clear about where we're going. And once we get clear about where we're going, we can then backtrack into a plan of action to get us there. A lot of times we're just swinging in the wind and subject to move and drift according to someone else's vision. But our dollar have created generational wealth for so many people. Our culture, the extraction of our culture, have generated so much wealth for everybody except us. So I think in this time when there's jobs are at the scarcity level it is, it's time for us to go back to the drawing board, map out a plan, think with the end in mind first, work backwards, and use your community to support that. And we have to support black-owned businesses. And black-owned businesses have to make sure that we're always moving at the level of excellence that our people deserve. Because sometimes we get caught up in being a black-owned business and feel that we can serve our people in a different way than they deserve. So we must always operate with excellence, always operate at the highest level, and we also have to make sure we there support those businesses as well.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Okay.
I will say that my media company, Scoopy Radio, will be celebrating 10 years on Monday.
Come on now.
And to me, that is significant because 10 years ago, I was living in my grandmother's basement with no stove, no oven, a crock pot, a double-door fridge. The freezer operated as a refrigerator, and the refrigerator side didn't work. Food stamps, collected unemployment, and freelancing about 12 different publications at a time. And what I realized at that point was that, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so you heard everything I said, right? All right, so I'm gonna continue. I don't want to say it again. But what I found significant about me was the special sauce was my relationships with athletes, and that athletes will tell me things that they won't tell traditional media. And what I realized was that even though I was partnering with other media companies and freelancing, I learned all of their game and applied it to my structure and scaled it. And I will say that While I have partnered with other companies and kind of started in 2011, starting from being in my grandmother's basement to now, had I not gone through that process, I wouldn't have been able to function in this world now, in the digital space, but also in a space where they don't want you for a myriad of reasons. But what I think is significant is the higher you go up on the elevator, it's your responsibility to send it back down. And so people who look like you, people who are like-minded, because sometimes it's not always the people that look like you. Sometimes they could be your worst enemy. Sometimes it's people who are equally yoked with you and can align with you, and you can work with them and to continue to build another product. So I think that's significant for people who have interest in building, but also looking at yourself as a brand, as a media company, and not just as a worker. Because in this economy, I feel like, respectfully, they respect ownership more than they do you just being a worker. What can you do that someone else can't?
So
Excellent,
I
excellent.
started my business when I was 20 years old in the dorm room at Columbia University. I graduated with a BA in sociology. I was pre-law. I started my business and I realized that I can't do all of this. And so literally the plan that I wanted was bigger than I knew that my resources were. And so I had to have a plan. My attorney was Londell McMillan, who's a famed entertainer. And literally he sat down and he was like, sis, you need to find your people. And so sometimes we literally have to tell the universe what we need and want. I don't want anyone to think that all of us created this knowing everything. I didn't know anything, and when I needed to know, I knew it. I learned it. Now I can tell you about it. But we have to get used to not knowing. There's no weakness in not knowing. Get you some people that are like-minded and like-hearted that see your vision. For me, I knew that my dream was to be an entrepreneur, but my dream, it was bigger than me. And so collaborative economics is what allowed me to bring on family members that shared my vision, but also my passion and my morals. That's very important. Family is not always who you need to be in business. You need to find people, like I said, who are like-minded and like-hearted. Because we did not get here alone. We talk about Black Wall Street. I'm literally trying to constantly rebuild that. So collaborative and collective economics is what got me to understand that I needed to surround myself with people who had the same vision and dream and wanted to work. So build your road path. Use a roadmap and build what you want, but also keep evolving, but keep finding people that support your dreams.
She said something very important about learning. Some way, somehow, we think we don't have to learn. Like, if you're trying to build a business just to make money, you're gonna miss. You're gonna fail, right? That's the byproduct of learning something, mastering something, and then being able to package it and offer it to people. We have to not be afraid to learn. I know so many young people that want to do business and want to start their own businesses, but they're skipping the steps of actually learning fundamentally what it takes to not just build that business. What are you bringing to the table besides the appetite? Like, what are you going to actually offer the world that the world needs? And once you understand that, learn it. Learn every aspect of it. I know so many people in the music business, they want to get into the music business and don't have a clue about the music business, right? So we have to start normalizing learning before we start stepping out saying we want to do things. Learn it first, right? Nothing wrong with that.
I want to add on two things. Sometimes people get into business because of the title. It sounds good. I'm the president, CEO, founder, co-chair, vice president, second vice chair, madam, sir, right on, right? But I want to share something with you. Sometimes the thing that you're trying to keep from falling apart is the same thing that your spirit is trying to outgrow. And that speaks to evolution. Right? When the pandemic hit, when I first started my company, we were providing suits to men coming home from incarceration, right? And we were going to hotspots. So it was a shooting. I was coming there with my suits, my mentors, my job owners, whoever had a job, we were going to that shooting spot. But when the pandemic hit, we switched. Then we became a food inequity company. We started providing food to all the communities. So I want to speak about evolution in the aspect of entrepreneurship. You always must butterfly. Secondly, prioritize your mental health. it's not spoken about enough, the impact of your mental health in being an entrepreneur. Who does the go-to person go to? When you're always pouring into yourself, you're pouring into your business, you're pouring into your customers, and you're hearing the negative aspects, then social media posts and everything else, and then after you close your shutters, then you got to go home and deal with your wife, your kids, your personal self. Prioritize your mental health, especially for entrepreneurs, because yes, it is beautiful on the other side, but it gets ugly.
Right.
And it's even dirtier when you don't prioritize your mental health.
Can I?
All right. So key things I always take notes even on a panel. The key things they said, please, things don't happen overnight. From everybody's story, they talked about not a year or two. So please understand things do not happen overnight. Get a team. Stop trying to do everything on your own. It does not look good as a one-man show. Be open to learn, grow, read, research, and do not do this all. Get these priorities. And health is wealth. When you gone, what's the money gonna do for you when you're in that grade? So prioritize, get your health together, and get an understanding. We're going to go on to the next question. We're going to give everybody a minute and a half to answer these next ones so we can make sure we staying on point. This question is, how do you build something profitable without losing ownership or control?
Or does that even matter?
You should go first.
Ladies first.
Wait, repeat that question again.
Yes, ma'am. How do you build something profitable without losing ownership or control?
So I read that question. I was like, it had a few different meanings, but it just hit me. So a lot of times I don't really felt like I was profitable in my business, but I was making impact. And so I realized that after the pandemic that for about 15 years my business really wasn't profitable, but I also helped send 50 kids to school because I had employees. So a lot of times it wasn't profitable for me, but it was necessary for my community. So I don't really count the years that I didn't make profit as not important. But what was also important to me was to maintain the ownership of my business. It was very important because, we use it now, but before it wasn't legacy. It was, to me, I was just trying to make an invoice and and get paid. So it really was about a transaction. But now I want to keep this because I want to transfer it to my daughter so that I'm building something. So now transferable legacy is very important, and that should be something that you guys understand. Don't just start a business, build it so that you can transfer it so that your kids can benefit. So my ownership is important to me because it belongs to me and it belongs to my daughter and it belongs to her. And so that's important.
A phrase that has really stuck with me in life is the day that you plant the seed is not the day that you bear the fruit. I come from an entrepreneurial world where my family ran and operated 2 shoe businesses in Harlem. And I work in media, and nobody in my family worked in media. And so I watched other people whose mom or dad may have worked in television get ahead. And I feel like that's important because, like you, I invested a lot into myself and invested into a lot of people, but didn't really see a return on my investment till about 2018. And I finished grad school in 2011. So for 7 years, I was investing and planting those seeds. And I feel like it's not always just monetarily what you gain, it's also what you impart to the next generation, which you may not see that seed being planted or bearing fruit until years later. And so I don't equate success to just money, although you have to spend money to make money. I think the investing part, but also the making money part, it takes about 10 to 15 years. They say it takes 10 years to build a successful business, but I will also encourage people who are in this room. We talked about a book that really changed my perspective on a lot was a book called Outliers. Where they say that if you invest 10,000 hours, you become an expert in your field. And the people who are successful most are the people who aren't concerned about the money because the money's going to come. It's about the time invested so that it makes it easier for you. And whatever that road is, I think that's significant.
Thank you very much to our panelists. We're going to jump in real quick. Speaking of investing and planting seeds in the next generation, we have a group of entrepreneurs who's going to pitch to you all today. And Can we have them come up here for a second? Just so everybody can see who
Y'all
you
give it
are.
up for them. Give it up for them. Clap it up. It's never easy to come in front of people. All right. Just one? It's just one, right? Oh,
Keep going.
okay. What is your name? Emerald. You know what? I'm going to let you do that, girl, because I ain't going to butcher your name today. Y'all give it up for this beautiful young lady.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Emerald Green. I am currently 15 years old, and I do a lot of things. I have a lot of different entrepreneurial ideas. I model, I act, I do poetry. I getting back into dance, and I sing. But what I really love is fashion, and that's what I'm here to pitch to you guys today. So I currently have a brand called Amaryllis's Motivational Closet, and the reason why I created it is because I love feeling nice when I walk outside. You know, you look in your closet and you're looking inside and you're like, okay, what do I have here that can make me feel great? When you're putting on a great outfit and you walk outside, you know, I look nice, I feel great, and that's what I would love to do with my clothes. So I started my brand. I would buy t-shirts, I would buy spray paint, and I would buy stencils, and I handmade all my shirts. And I would put motivational words on it. And I'm ready to branch out into dresses and suits. So I'm here to ask for money to buy fabric, supplies, and a sewing machine. And And I have done technical training. I do know how to use a sewing machine. I have created stuff by hand. When the pandemic came, I created a business selling masks, and I was selling bookmarks. So I was hand sewing, and I was hand making bookmarks and masks, and I was selling them, or I would give them away sometimes for people who really needed it. And I'm ready to actually pursue my passion, which is creating clothes that make people feel great. Because when I put this outfit on today, I felt great walking in here. I felt great. So, thank you. So, and I want...
One more time. Yeah.
Personal presentation. Personal presentation.
All right, panelists, can you, as we're going with the competition, can we have you guys ask her some short questions about her?
Yeah.
Her.
I have a couple questions
Yes.
for you, sis. First of all, congratulations and salute to you.
Thank you.
And I think the outfit is pretty dope, but I love to hear.
Thank you.
I have a question. We talking business, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk shop. How many T-shirts did you sell when you was doing the stencil work?
When I was doing the stencil work, I sold about 50 shirts in the year.
And how much was those shirts retailing for?
I sold the shirts for $20 each.
All right, and what did you do with the money?
With the money, I invested it back into supplies. So whenever I got money, it went right back into supplies, and I saved a piece of it because I was saving towards the sewing machine at the time. But then school happened, and I started taking my advanced classes, so I had to take a break from the shirts, but I'm ready to get back into it.
All right, last question. Before you go into the suits and dresses, do you feel you have accomplished everything you needed to with the T-shirts?
Okay, so with the shirts, I did the shirts because I wanted to start the brand, right? Mm-hmm. So I started off with something small because at the time I didn't have sewing machine expertise. So it wouldn't make sense for me to start promoting dresses and suits when I didn't have the expertise at the time. So then I turned to T-shirts. because I know I can create. I just need a canvas, and my canvas at the time were T-shirts. I'm ready to change that canvas.
Okay.
I have a question. So it seems like your sales strategy is more direct to consumer. Do you have a system set up? How do you receive and send your orders?
Okay, so with that, I do have some options. I did start planning and looking at websites, but currently at the time, since websites do take money, and at the time, if I'm not getting profit, I'm putting out, and that wouldn't make any sense. So I will be doing orders just here in New York. So at the time, until I can create profit off of it, I can't put out money for websites and stuff, not knowing if I'm going to make the money back.
Do you think it would be a sounder sales strategy to, instead of diversify into 2 other categories, perfect your sales and distribution and simplify, and so that you can make the most money off of that one category? Because I can definitely help you do that.
Well, I know I don't know everything, so I would love if you're offering mentorship. I would definitely accept it. Definitely. Thank you.
You got our very own land sharks.
All right, we are going to bring up our second contestant. We're going to do it the same, so they're going to do their pitch, and the questions will be from the panelists, because they're the ones that decide and judge. Thank you, guys.
Hello. My name is Jalen. I own a small business. Okay. I'm Jalen. Y'all can call me Jay. I own a small business for photography and videography. My business name is Harlem Exposure. I'm from Harlem, New York. And I basically want to represent my community by creating beautiful visuals for the people in my community. I started this because, honestly, photography has just always been my passion. My great-grandfather he introduced me to National Action Network when I was 9 years old. And during that time, he introduced me to videography. And I learned a little bit about videography at that time. I went my separate way to grow up and went through high school and all of that stuff. And later came back 2025 to continue to pursue my photography and my videography. My great-grandfather, he bought me my first camera last year in college. And I just did something with it. I went outside, campus full of beautiful people around my age, and I just started taking pictures. And through time, I found my flow, I found my technique, and I've grown as a photographer and as a person, only 19 years old, and I progressed a lot. Later on in life, during that summer of 2025, I joined Supreme Creative Agency. Yeah. And I can say that is honestly has been the biggest blessing of my life in pursuing my career. I've progressed so much with the team that I'm working with now. Shout out to JT. That man is a genius. He's a genius. And he's really helped me to not only grow in photography, but also has helped me grow into becoming a better person, into becoming supreme. So I really appreciate all of the people that I have around me, my family, my friends, and even you guys in this room for just listening to me. So thank you for this opportunity. And shout out to my great-grandparents sitting right here, Winston and Beverly Gilchrist.
A couple quick questions for you.
Wait a minute, let me add something. She shouted out Mr. Gilchrist and Ms. Beverly. Mr. Gilchrist, stand up. Mr. Gilchrist has been with Nan almost 30 years as a videographer. And before there was social media, there was those tapes. And anybody that knows about when you record stuff and you had to get the CD printed, This man still does that. And Mr. Gilchrist is 80, how old are you? 85 years young. And so when Jalen was speaking about him, that is the lineage that Rev teaches us about, and she is in the lineage of her great-grandfather, and we're so glad, yes, Lord, and we're so glad that he's still with us at 85 and still doing what he's doing. So give Mr. Gilchrist one more big hand.
One of the pillars of BMAC, our organization, is to invest into the next generation of creatives. So I told Ashley that BMAC wanted to match the grant that Nan is putting up for the winner.
Let's give that a round of applause. Let's give that a round of applause.
And I want to be absolutely clear, because I might have missed it. Is the business, the videography, what exactly is the business that you are building?
So the business I'm building exactly is a production company that can change, and that can change people's lives, bring people's dreams to life. I want to create a video, a picture, whatever. I want it to be out there for people to look at and say, wow, this is not just a picture, it's actually a moment that was captured. So my point of building this business that I have, this small business, is to basically break a generational curse into creating something that has never been seen before, never has been touched or even thought about before. So that is my purpose of being a videographer and being a photographer and just owning a production company that people can rely on and basically bring their dreams to life, because everything is caught on camera these days.
Got you. Another question. Have you received any independent work outside of the work you do with the current company you with? Do you freelance? Do people pay you now to take pictures and do videography? If so, what do you charge?
Yes, people do book me for videography and photography outside of Supreme Creative Agency, and I charge a pretty reasonable price. So
What's
hourly,
reasonable?
my hourly charge would be $60 for events.
And that's per hour? And that's flat fee, or that's per hour?
Per hour.
And what do you do with the money when you receive it? How do you reinvest it, or do you reinvest it? What happens when you get that check?
So what usually happens when I get a good amount of money from my booking, most of it gets saved. I do a lot of spending, yes, I'm young, but most of it does get saved because I do plan on investing a lot into my production, my company. So I don't want to just be at stage one and yes, I could be a good photographer and make good money from it, but I want to gain value from it as well.
So there's a war chest now. You have a war chest. You have funds saved now?
Yes.
Okay, great.
We got 10 more seconds with this contestant. We have 2 more right here.
Do you have a website and a social media account as well?
I have a social media account. I did have a website, but it needs adjusting. So right now I just have a platform on Instagram.
All you need is a splash page, even if you don't have, you can get a website, and even if it's not updated, splash page and a place where people can contact you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Oh, good afternoon, everyone. I am Devon Lewis, a senior business administration major with a concentration in management and a minor in leadership studies from Washington, D.C., currently attending Morehouse College. I also serve as a recharter member as well as the senior advisor to the National Action Network AUC chapter, and I'm also the lovely Ashley Sharpton assistant. So I'm here for the week. My business is actually not a business. I know that sounds crazy. It's actually a nonprofit. My passion is to develop black boys to become black men, as well as black leaders. We unfortunately, we are not empowered enough. Unfortunately, we are not taught enough while we're kids.
Okay.
We don't have a lot of community no more. We're not sending our kids to grandma house no more. That's the problem. And I want to bring back grandma house. And so I founded a nonprofit called 100 Black Boys because I'm a member of the Collegiate 100, which is a product of 100 Black men. And so I started 100 Black Boys to create that grandma's house. We got to keep teaching our Black boys you can be a Black man. Just because you're in the struggle doesn't mean you got to stay there.
Okay.
And that's what I want to bring us out of. And so that's my product. It's not big. It's not much. I do a lot. I started the nonprofit at a elementary school, in Atlanta when I got there. And now we're 4 years strong, a member product of Collegiate 100. And they're called 100 Black Boys with 5th graders. I have 8 of them that are my babies. So I love all my babies. Any questions?
So I guess the question is, we have your why, and we got a lot of why, but another question is, what's the ask? What are you asking for, and what are you going to do with that? You're asking the money for?
Resources. Even though I'm in Atlanta, I do have a lot of resources. I don't have all of them. And I can never have too many, right? I'm doing everything by myself right now, and it's hard. I'm in school. I'm trying to graduate. I'm a senior. It's hard. But I take time away from school to pour into them. I take time away. I need somebody else. I need things. I need help. And I'm by myself.
So when you talk about research, I need a deep dive a little bit more into that. What does that mean exactly? And you're saying you need help. Did you enlist volunteers?
Yes.
So what is the resources?
So the resources I need is financial resource because it's expensive. I'm a college student. It's expensive.
Like what?
So every Saturday I try to take them from their parents, give their parents a break, but also y'all don't need to be in the streets doing this team takeover. So y'all are coming with me. We're going to go to a bowling alley. We're going to the movies. We're going to grandma's house. Like I said, grandma used to take us out to the bowling alley. Grandma used to take us out to the movies to make sure we wasn't in trouble. So we're doing that. And that's expensive because I'm not charging the parents nothing. I got to work hard to make sure I get the money to pay for that.
Right on. I want to deep dive because I want to give you a hard lesson of what I learned. Like I told you, I've failed more than you, trust me.
Right.
And that structure is what got me in the right direction. When you're doing a nonprofit and a foundation, you can put line items, right? So money for entertainment, line item for food, right? So if I'm giving you $500, you're getting $300 for entertainment, $200 for food, I don't know, $20 for transportation. So you could break it down. So when you say resources, that goes upon deaf ears when you're dealing with funders. They want to know exactly where that money's going.
Yeah, so I can explain a little bit to that. Key example, before I came to this trip, to the convention, I took my kids out. And I spent $500 that day. Like you say, you gave me $500. $326.94 went to food. The rest went to transportation and just taking care of them. Like if they wanted something, you got it, we get it.
But that taking care of them has to be defined when you're dealing with foundations. So there's no overarching words. It is very to the point.
Gotcha.
Can I
Appreciate that.
So are you a 501c3?
Not yet.
Okay.
I work with a 501c3. What is this? Black. What is this? Black Youth Empowerment Network. I'm sorry, BYEN.
Free game. Learn what they do, implement it into what you do. Before you lead, you got to learn how to lead. And if you're learning what they're doing, and if you're volunteering your time, they can easily show you how to file your paperwork for a 501c3 so that you can create your own. And once you do, your local, your community, your business, grocery stores, restaurants, sports teams, clothing stores, when they see that you are credentialed in that way, will easily donate money because those are write-offs.
So you don't have to pay for the food.
So you don't have
take them out
right.
and stuff like that.
So you pull up to a TGI Fridays, it's covered.
I'm in business, so I understand. Yeah,
Right.
I'm with you.
I just want to say this here. I'll be more than happy.
Last thing on this.
I'll be more than happy to mentor you. I'll be more than happy to mentor you because a lot of people don't understand because I agree with you, but I don't. I ain't gonna lie to you. Because I used to drive me crazy when people tell me do what they're doing. No, I started mine because I had my own vision, right on. Because I was giving out suits. I got to be dressed for success now. That's what everybody used to call me under. No, you can't square a circle in a square box. Right on. I have my own vision. I have my own passion. I have my own my own why, and make sure you don't negate from your why with what you're doing. I love you though, brother.
Thank you very much. Thank
No,
you very much.
but I actually agree with you. I actually think you take what they do and make it your own. I think we're in the middle there.
Thank you very much. We love the conversation. We can continue it on, but we have our next contestant coming up.
I understand what you're saying. Respect. I understand what you're saying.
Hello, how are we doing today, guys?
How you?
Peace, brother. Peace.
Good afternoon.
Good morning.
My name is LaSalle Morrison. I'm a recent graduate from New Jersey Institute of Technology.
Hey.
Thank you. And I graduated with a bachelor's in computer science. So, I ideally want to start a startup software app development business, and mostly as a focus, I would like to present one of the app ideas I have currently. So, just as a show of hands, if anyone can tell me, who here has heard you need multiple sources of income, or you should get multiple sources of income? I guess a good portion of us, right? And as we continue to go down, as we've seen as of recently, more and more people are starting to feel like we need those incomes to just sustain daily life. If you just look at the price of gas currently, we can see that things are getting more expensive, right? And so people have started to do these side hustles to make the extra flow of income that they for themselves, right? Some of these apps are like Uber Eats, DoorDash, Instacarts, right? Me being out of college, currently still waiting for my full-time opportunity. If anyone's looking for a software engineer, I am still here available. I started to delve into some of these apps. I started using Instacart, I started using DoorDash, and as I was using these apps, one day I was supposed to meet up with a friend around 3 o'clock. It's, let's say, about 2 o'clock now. It was going to take me 30 minutes to get to the spot I need to get to. And I realized that if I was to try to do like a delivery, because I was doing deliveries before this, to make just a little extra cash before then, I would probably be late to me meeting up. And so then I thought, well, I wish I could know for sure that the delivery I'm going to do is on my way to the destination I'm going to, so I wasn't cutting into the time. Because I'm going to end up sitting there for 20 to 25 minutes doing nothing, 20 to 25 minutes doing nothing, when I could have been doing something else, right? Or I could use the time more efficiently. And so that came up with the idea, what if I was able to come up with an app that tells you exactly when an order is on your way, right? And that's where my app idea comes from, and my app name, On My Way. Essentially, it'd be an app, let's say you're doing your DoorDash delivery driver, it'd be an app that when the DoorDash app sends you a notification about an order, you'd have On My Way open, and On My Way would be kind of like a pseudo Google Maps. It would tell you how far off your destination, like how far off your destination is from where where this order is. So let's say you're going to work, you have about 30 minutes to get to your destination. It says, hey, this order that you could pick up is 5 minutes off. It adds 5 minutes to your total route. Now you know for sure that if you were to take this order on your way, you'd only spend the extra 5 minutes versus you having to hopefully take an order, see where it is, break it down. You could do this on your way while you're already driving. So that's the idea that I had come to my mind. And it also solved a problem that DoorDash or Instacart has. I don't know if anyone here has done Instacart before, but in situations where, especially packed days, there are a lot of times where there are a whole bunch of orders that are never taken because it simply doesn't make sense financially. If you have to drive 6 miles and you're only getting paid $5 for the order, you're gonna lose out on the gas already, right? So if that delivery, though, was on your way to something else, now you're no longer losing out because you were already gonna drive that path already, right? So you're only gaining here potentially, right? That is my idea. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
All right, panel. So we are hitting time, but I want to be mindful. So everybody on the panel can ask one question, and then we have about 30 to 45 seconds to respond. So let's see how quick you can handle this.
Okay, I'll
for
try my
your
best.
answers, boss man.
So the app, you developed the app, and the
Don't have
app is
time for audience
primarily
questions.
for the individual that works for Instacart or DoorDash, for them to be able to gauge whether or not they have the time to add additional orders to their route already?
So I think it primarily focuses on people who already do have the DoorDash app and Uber Eats app. But ideally, people who do DoorDash and stuff, they already set time. Sometimes they set time aside to do sessions, right? But what my app is focused on is those times where you're not necessarily planning to do an order, but you have to go to work, because 60% of people that do DoorDash have a full-time job, right? So that's 60% of people at least. And then there's like another 10% that are stay-home dads, whatever. It's for those people that are going somewhere, and they're going somewhere, and they're trying to find maybe an extra way to make it like a slight extra bit of cash on their side, right? Without having to take out their normal time out the day to do it.
Okay.
Does this app just enhance productivity, or are you able to monetize it?
I believe I'll be able to monetize it. My current thought process is to because it is a service that I'm providing you by being able to tell you exactly how long it's going to take you using the estimation of the map. I would charge probably like a monthly fee, similar to how a lot of other subscription services work. And it'd probably be something low, like maybe like $5 to start, especially depending on how productive people are. But if you do one order with my app, you've already made back your money. So that's my thought process. There's 8 million users on DoorDash alone. So there is an audience base.
When you said probably, you haven't mapped out the economics yet, clearly, of the program?
You mean in terms of being able to charge the fee?
Yeah, do you have the pay structure and all of that sort of already in your mind, or that you can share?
Oh, in my mind, I would charge the $5 a month. That's where I wanted to start. But I wouldn't know how people react until I start testing it with the actual audience. And I haven't done that yet.
Okay.
We have time for one more question, if that. That's it.
When you start the app, would it be to a certain region, or like would you? Because you're an NJIT. Shout out to NJIT. I taught there. Would it be in that Essex County area? Would it be Newark? Would it be East Orange? Would it be go to New York? Like, where would you start it?
It'll be most beneficial in a very populated area. So I'd probably start within the New Jersey, New York area, simply because that's where I'm based currently. And then as I test out the app to make sure it's successful and it's doing the right things, we can expand towards other parts of the country.
Okay. Thank you, guys. You guys clap it up for these contestants, please, and thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we are going to take 3 minutes to have the judges deliberate who they want their winner to be, because we have literally 7 minutes to get out of here. So 3 minutes for you guys to tally up, and we'll do 1 minute to give answers, and we'll get pictures and everything and be off stage by 2:40. All right? Can we get a little vibe music for a second? Let me finish doing what she has to do. All right. Testing. Okay. While they're deliberating, we have another minute and a half while they're getting that together. So let me ask you guys, how many of you guys are in here who are entrepreneurs right now? How many people in here are entrepreneurs currently? Okay, how many of you guys, when you were starting your entrepreneurship, you were very hesitant about it? Be honest. I know y'all all didn't just wake up and say, I can do this. Oh, you just knew? Oh, okay. All right, so I do want to share a short story while they're finished in a minute and a half. It won't take me long. So one thing with my son, a lot of people always ask me how and why. If you hear my voice, clap once. Oh, I got to treat you like kindergarten. If you hear my voice, clap twice. Okay. All right. Okay. So my son started at the age of 12. We started right in pandemic. And as they were saying, we had to pivot. You have to understand AI is coming. There's technologies, there's social media. As a gentleman, he started with tapes and DVDs, but he is evolving. And he said if he can't, he has his legacy getting there to evolve where he needs to be. And so one thing I always tell people, don't do this alone, like we always said. But a story I will say, my son, he was doing great. Everything was going good. We went to California. We took off my mom's driveway. We had cars going up and down the street, so on and so forth. But he had his first refund. Somebody asked for a refund. Now, as a 12-year-old, to hear that, he was crushed. Because he's like, what do you mean the cornbread crumbled? He sells cornbread in a bundt cake form, puts it in, it looks like a cupcake. You top it with cheese and sour cream. It's amazing. It's amazing. Next year, we did try to get him this year, but he was so swamped with school. And he's running for office. I'm not sure, but they got college and running for office is something in school. So I'm proud of my baby. But he won his first refund, and he cried. And you know, they say, men don't cry, men shouldn't cry, cut it out. And he was baffled. And one thing I tell him, taught him, and I continuously tell him, I tell him every day is not gonna be a great day. Every day is not gonna be a money day. Every day you ain't gonna make what you thought you made. You always set goals. But I tell him, and I tell people he's my biggest inspiration because he kept going. It was 115-degree weather out there, and he kept going. It was rain, snow, sleet, and shine. So anything y'all don't understand or don't remember, keep going because like I asked y'all, was there days you didn't understand it, you didn't know what to do? Keep going because your end and your why is always bigger than what you won't want to do. Thank you. All right. Usman, hold the mic. Let me get who the winner is.
Can we first give a round of applause to all of those young people who came up here today? I think it takes a lot of courage to stand in front of people and deliver. I think you all did a great job at doing that. So no matter what happens today, I would encourage you all to stay focused, stay committed. Part of being an entrepreneur is accepting the no's and using that as the fuel to get to your yes. So regardless of what the decision is today, stay the course. Stay the course, stay the course. But we have a winner.
Okay. Since you're doing that, can I get the 15-second closing remarks of who you are, something encouraging, and how to get out of here? So 15 seconds, tell us who you are, give them something encouraging, and how they can keep up with you.
Stay the course. I think I gave mine already, so it would be I'm Prophet once again, but stay the course, stay focused, stay committed, think with the end in mind first, have a plan, learn, surround yourself with people who can help elevate you, elevate your thoughts, and don't be afraid to fail. And also pace yourself. You're living in a generation now where if you don't get it today, if you don't make the millions today, you think you're a failure. Pace yourself. And all of you are on the right track, and that's where it starts. So salute.
Thank you. Next, 15 seconds.
Brandon Scoopy Robinson. You can follow me on all socials, on Twitter and Instagram at ScoopB. Scoop like you're scooping ice cream, the letter B. Two things. Don't take no from someone who's not qualified to tell you yes. One, that's a whole sermon for another day. And
Clock it.
also in life, to kind of piggyback off what you said, don't go with the fast food meal in life. Go for the home cooked meal.
It's healthier.
Oh, that was great. I am Shay S. Wood on all social media. That's SHAY S. Wood. I am Shay Wood. I am a generational curse breaker. I am a community builder, and I love being me. I love being black, and I love being a woman.
Right on.
Excellent.
Kevin Livingston, 100 Suits. You can follow us on Instagram at 100 Suits, 100 SUITS. I'm going to leave you with this. Innovation doesn't always require data. Just get started and never mind the chatter.
Listen, y'all did amazing. Y'all came short of like 4 seconds. I love it. I love it. All right, so we are now time to deliberate. Is everybody up here? Are we missing anybody? Oh, we're missing somebody. All right, can you get a drum roll, please? Everybody pat your leg. Let's get a drum roll. Get a drum roll. All right, and the winner of the $2,000 scholarship is Jalen J. Yes, you want 30 seconds to say something, baby. We have 1 minute left.
I just want to say thank you. And it's all glory to God. All glory to God, okay? All glory. I wasn't even expecting this type of win today, but God has something in store, y'all.
That's right.
So amen. And, you know, everybody up here won with me too. Not just, we all win. We all winners right here. We all in success. So thank y'all, and most importantly, thank God. Thank you, God, and thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. She's so much of an entrepreneur, we have to pull her out the next room because she was shooting over there to come back into this room to win. So give her an extra round of applause. And that's about it before they kick us out of here. We got a next panel coming up.
All right, next panel is Know Your Right workshop. Don't go too far. You guys let the people come off stage. Don't bum rush them. Give them a second to breathe. Everybody, don't bum rush. Give them a second. Panelists, don't move, and contestants, don't move. We're gonna get you guys a photo.
Yes.
We literally have 1 minute till.
Panelists and contestants,
So panelists and contestants,
let's
come
do
on
a
stage.
picture. And our Know Your Rights leaders are coming with their training that they will be doing for today. Everybody scoot down. Scoot down. You can play some house music, please.
Let's get the contestants to sit down so we can all sit. Get the contestants just to sit down so we can all fit and know it's long. Oh, you a contestant too? Come on, you guys. Hurry. Come on.
Come on, winner. You right? Listen.
Scoot in together.
Act like you know each other.
Just put your chairs down.
Everyone,
Scoot down one seat, baby. Look at the photographer.
Okay, that's enough.
all right, thank you, everybody.
All right, let's go.
Yes. All right, everybody, please take your seats. We have to begin our next workshop. Shh. Everybody, please take your seat so we can begin our Know Your Rights workshop. 20 minutes. Y'all, the mic. Shh. Everyone, if you want to talk, go outside in the hallway, close the doors. If you want to speak, please go outside in the hallway. If you want to speak, give a hand to our winner one more time and those that participated. Wasn't that such a good? And they are not walking out of here empty-handed, but they're walking out. Jalen is walking out with $2,000. And that's a beautiful thing. Thank you. And that's a beautiful thing. All right. Shh. Nan, I need y'all to listen. There's a lot of noise. We need to get ourselves back together. I don't want to have to do it if you hear me clap once. Okay, so now I'm going to ask that our Know Your Rights panel would come forth for our workshop that they are going to do. And this panel, this conversation, actually, this workshop that you are going to see, you guys can come up to the dais, that you guys are going to see is very important. And I want you to understand why, especially with everything that is going on, it is imperative that we know what our rights are. And so, especially when you're talking about ICE, especially when you talk about police interactions, you want to make sure that you are interacting effectively and according to how your rights are. Am I right? Okay, so today we will hear from these group of leaders. They are no stranger. Mauricia is no stranger to NAN. She has come on several occasions with our NAN Youth Huddle with Victor Pate and the Second Chance Committee, and those that would like to hear from Victor Pate, he is across the hall, next door. But here we will hear from our leaders today, and they will explain who they are, where they're from, and will speak to us on knowing our rights for this panel. Let's give them all a hand and thank them for being with us. Come on, clap for them, and thank them for being here, for taking the time to speak with us. Thank you. Go ahead, Mauricia.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's a full room. Thank you for being here. You could have been anywhere else, especially with all the traffic and festivities happening in our city. You are here with us. So I know they introduced us as the Know Your Rights workshop. I wanted to be very specific because there are a lot of agencies and organizations that are conducting Know Your Rights. We're specifically around stop and frisk. How many of you guys know about stop and frisk? All right, so a lot of us, I'm sure, the NAN has historically fought for ages to end stop and frisk. So our team, it's 4 of us here today. There's a few of us that's not here today from other boroughs, but we are the Office of the Community Liaison. We are a stop and frisk feedback team where we're here to collect feedback from the community as a result of a lawsuit that occurred where NYPD was found unconstitutionally stopping Black and brown communities. So before we get into it, I'm going to give an introduction for all of us so you know who you're speaking to when we go through the panel. My name is Mauricia. I am the Manhattan organizer for the Office of the Community Liaison. I'll pass it off to Tatiana.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Tatiana Hill. I'm the organizer for Brooklyn.
Hi, everyone. I'm Matilda, like the movie. I am the Staten Island organizer.
Hey, peace and blessings, everyone. My name is Jermaine Thompson. I'm the court-appointed community liaison.
So today, we're going to spend an hour with you guys to explain, for those who know, and just to give a little bit more history on what stop and frisk looked like before versus how it's supposed to look now, because it is legal now, but there's still policies and procedures that's supposed to be followed. We're going to talk more about the court ruling, impact. We'll also speak about the levels of encounters through the group, and at the end, you guys can close out with questions and answers. So once again, I'm the Manhattan organizer. I am Brooklyn bred, but I love having the pleasure of working in Manhattan and in Harlem. Stop and frisk is a policy where officers are able to use a practice to stop, question, and frisk due to probable cause. Probable cause is something that there's specific evidence to prove, not a gut feeling, but specific evidence to prove that there's a crime that is being committed or about to be committed. In the past, like I said before, the NAN has historically fought through advocacy, activism, to end stop and frisk because in the early 2000s, a judge had found through multiple lawsuits, starting with Floyd, Davis, and there's another one named Ligon, where there were a lot of community that were stopped unconstitutionally. So with that being said, they had to appoint a monitor to look over compliance to ensure that the people were being stopped within their rights. With that being said, the federal monitor looks more into data and then we come in as the Office of Community Liaison to go towards communities in all 5 boroughs to retain actual anecdotal feedback to match what that data says. Jermaine here is our community liaison amongst 5 organizers, and he's the one that works with the all parties groups to ensure that we are hearing community and we're also bringing their concerns back to the courts and also educating them on their rights, as we've seen that there's a gap, especially with social media. We see a lot of videos, and the youth right now, they're not able to speak to their rights even if something is wrong, or let's just say the police is following their job. Sometimes there's a gray area where they may not know their rights. So that's where we come in. We work with different agencies, we work with schools, we work with elected officials to bring the awareness to help community understand that stop and frisk is legal, but there's a difference with how it was done before to now. And I'm going to kick it to Jermaine, where he's going to explain a little bit more what about the community engagement looks like with our team.
Thank you, Mauricia. So as Mauricia was stating to you all, these stop, question, and frisk was, I want to say, created to hold our people down. Let me put it like that, right? So when you think of stop, question, and frisk, and you think about what it does to Black and brown communities, it's a lot of harm and trauma into that process. So when we had the opportunity to come in and be the voice for community in this process, it was a no-brainer, right? So our office prides ourselves on not putting our own ideologies into this process, but uplifting community voices and let you tell your story on what you're experiencing with stop, question, and frisk, right? So you think about when, as Mauricio was stating about the court ruling that happened in 2013, at that time, NYPD stopped approximately 700,000 folks, Black and brown folks, in 1 year, right? The exact number was like 685,000 and 776, something like that. I'm no mathematician, but it was somewhere around there, right? So when that happened, they brought the federal judge into place. The federal monitor into place. How many here have heard of the federal monitor before Mauricio spoke about it today? 2 people, 3 people, and we got about 50 people in the room, right? 5, so that's the issue. Nobody knows the federal monitor exists, and the federal monitor been in this position for about 12 years now, right? So it got to a point where federal judges were like, why is this going on so long? Why are these cases taking so long? And then they came to a conclusion that they needed to bring community voices in this space, which is unheard of. You don't hear about courts or judges wanting to hear from community so they could be able to do the reform process, right, and have them involved in the reform process. So me coming into this role, it was important for me to hire brilliant people, right? And you see these brilliant individuals on the stage with me. We introduce ourselves, but we also have our community coordinator here, Aaliyah. She's sitting in the front, along with a few other team members. So with that being said, community voices are important. Our voices are important, right? I look back at this sign behind me, and I see that it's at the bottom, it says, no justice, no peace, right? That's how we all should feel when it comes to these reform processes. If we don't get what we want, it shouldn't be peaceful. We shouldn't be afraid to lift our voices and speak out and talk to people about how we feel, our experiences. Our voices should not be shallowed, right? So as we move on into this today, we're going to be speaking about a few things, but I'm like a call and response person, so I like to ask questions because I want people to talk back to me. So how many of you heard of Dubois levels? Dubois levels. It's foreign, that's foreign language, right? But that's what stop and frisk is based off of in New York State, right? When you go through every other state, you have Terry stops, right? Where they just stop and they say you have this reasonable articulable suspicion that somebody's doing something. But New York State has a pretext to that, right? New York State has these actual extra levels, which is called Dubois levels, right? And there's 4 levels. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Dubois, D-E-B-O-U-R. So that was actually a court finding, and that's actually somebody's last name. So it became these extra levels that you see, and it gives officers reason to approach you in the streets, right? And that's what we're going to get into today. So I'm going to pass it off to Matilda, and she's going to kind of talk about those devoir levels.
Hi. So I am going to start off with pretty much the lowest level of encounter, which is a level 1 encounter. It is known as the objective reasonable counter. So it is the lowest level because they're not going to ask you accusatory questions. Something could have been going on in your area. It's normal in our neighborhoods that these encounters are known for. They usually just ask you questions like where you're going, what's your name, basic questions like that. But you have rights. You have the right not to answer these questions, and you have the right not to stay in those moments. You're not being detained. They're just literally asking you questions. So that is a level 1 encounter. We have a section for Q&A, and you just hold that thought. I got you. So bringing you to now a level 2 encounter, where it gets a little confusing for people, but that's also where the tension starts to build up. In a level 2 encounter, it's founded suspicion. So here, the officer may have a crime is about to happen, or has already happened, or they just have an inkling that something is going to go on. So they're going to ask you more accusatory questions. So they're going to ask you questions directed and pointed at you, like where are you coming from, where are you headed, things of such. So in this encounter, they're also going to ask if they could search your person or search your belongings. Again, the key word in this encounter is ask. You still have rights in this encounter. So you have the right to say no. You have the right to not answer any of their questions. If you're not being detained, you can walk away. So just ask. It's important to ask at this level if you're being detained so that you can walk away. If you cannot at this moment, then you then know that you're at a level 3 encounter. And Tatiana is going to break down level 3 for you all.
Hi. So at a level 3, you've gone through where officers have some suspicion. And then through a level 1, they're observing you. They may interact with you. As Matilda talked about, in a level 2, they're gaining more information to confirm what their suspicions might be, confirm evidence and information. At a level 3, they've determined they have enough information to hold you. Everybody ever heard of the word detained? Like, I'm being detained? Does anyone know, does that mean you're being arrested? Do you think that means you're being arrested? Correct. You're not being arrested, but you're not free to leave. So when you're being detained, you're being held before they can prove they have enough evidence to arrest you, or they can release you because they don't have enough evidence to hold you. So remember what Matilda said is really important. You do have the right to stay silent. That's a huge one. Everyone heard, like, I have the right to remain silent? That is a constitutional right that you have throughout any level of police encounters. Especially important at a level 3 because you're not free to go. So at this level, they are going to be asking you more detailed questions. They might frisk you if they have evidence that there's a weapon on your body. So just to be very clear, we talked about stop, question, and frisk, that word frisk. A frisk and a search are 2 different things. A frisk is a pat down. Have you seen that in the movies, or maybe some of you experienced it, unfortunately, in your neighborhoods? Yes, it happened to you yesterday. I'm sorry to hear that. Please. Oh, here, okay. You can share with us after so we can take your feedback.
We would like to speak to you at the end.
So a frisk is a pat down. That means they're patting the outer parts of your coat, your body, your person, your bag. They're not allowed to go into your bag, into your pockets, or into your sleeves. Some of you may have seen these stops happen, or your youth in your neighborhood especially. That's who's targeted by this. The youth, especially ages 16 through 24, Black and Latino boys the most, but also girls as well. When you see this happening, they're looking for a weapon. If they feel evidence of a weapon during a level 3 frisk, they now have enough reason to search only that area where they felt what feels like a weapon is. Does that make sense? So they can frisk my whole body and pat me down, right? But if they feel something on my right pocket, they can only go into the right pocket and search. Got that? Now, once they go into that right pocket, they're going to empty out the pocket, obviously, to determine whatever is in there. If you have a legal license for a weapon or a gun, obviously at that time you would show it. If not, then you would be moved to a level 4. I also want to be clear that at a level 3, they should not be frisking you if there is not risk of a weapon, if there is not evidence or some kind of indication of a weapon. If this stop that we're talking about goes to court, they have to prove to a judge, and they have to clearly state how they thought a weapon was visible. What evidence do you have to say that there was a weapon on this person? So they're supposed to be able to detail, they see an L-shaped weapon that indicates a gun. They saw a large bulge. They saw the person moving as if they had a weapon. They were trying to hide it. Those are some of the things they do during their observations at levels 1 and 2. And just so you know, officers are always observing. That's part of their job, right? So sometimes we think of them harassing, stalking, or patrolling, but part of their job is to watch, observe, and see what evidence they come up with, which gives them enough reason to stop you and possibly hold you at a level 3. Everybody got that? So at a level 3, like I said, they're going to determine if they have enough information to move forward or if they have enough information to arrest you. At a level 1, 2, and 3, you have the right to remain silent. Levels 1, 2, and 3, you do not have to provide ID. You do have to identify yourself. A lot of people get confused around that. A lot of us grew up hearing, make sure you carry ID, it's against the law, right? That's not specifically true, but you do want to be able to say clearly your first and last name and where you live. You don't want to give a fake name, obviously, because someone else could have a warrant or information against them. But you need to be able to clearly state who you are. If you're not able to identify yourself and you're at a level 3, they're probably going to be trying to look you up. And then if you're in a situation where you might receive a summons, which is a level 4, or an arrest, they would possibly say they're going to give you a ticket, right? A summons is a ticket. It's a legal ticket, so that means legally they need to see your ID to give you that ticket. So even though I just told you, you don't have to legally have ID. If you were doing something that would determine that you can receive a summons, like hopping the turnstile, spitting in the street, in the park after dark in New York City, using the bathroom in public, those are things that you can get a summons for. If you are able to get a summons and you don't have ID, that is an excuse for officers to take you in. You're not technically being arrested, but they're going to take you to the precinct to identify you. We see that happen with a lot of our youth because they don't always carry ID or they don't have the language to identify themselves. So that's a really important tidbit that you might want to share with folks around you so that you can make sure you remain safe. After a level 3, there's a 4, which I said is an arrest or a summons, and you would be free to go. Our office deals with levels 1, 2, 3. After level 4, you're talking about legal rights, right? You need a lawyer, you need counsel. You want to make sure you ask for that if you're being arrested or if you're in the precinct. But levels 1 through 3, our office takes your feedback on that. So we go around the community and we do workshops, which would be something like today, but in much more detail. And we ask people what their experiences are like. We want to hear your stories. Mauricia mentioned anecdotes, right? Anecdotes are your firsthand experiences and encounters, you telling your story from the first hand. We want to get your feedback directly. We're just here to give a voice to you. Our communities don't get heard a lot, right? A lot of us talk about police encounters and the police violence, but who do we tell? Who do we trust to tell our stories for us? So our office is comprised of all of us who have a background in organizing. We all come from these communities that we organize in. Mauricia is from Brooklyn, I'm from Brooklyn, Matilda's from Staten Island, Jermaine is from Queens. These are our neighborhoods, these are our people. He's Big Queens, sorry, he said Big Queens. But honestly, we come from these neighborhoods that we care and fight for. So it's not just a job for us, it means a lot to us. And now I want to open up the floor for questions and answers. And I want to let you know as well, you can follow us on Instagram if you have it. You can search OCL. It will say Office of the Community Liaison to connect with us. We'll be here after as well, so you can connect with us. And we're here to do workshops for any organization you have. It could be your tenant association group. It could be a neighborhood group of children that you work with and coach. It could be a community center. It could be a program that you run or facilitate. Just let us know. We have someone in every borough. We have people that can float around and pop up at your events and table as well, so please let us know. But if you have questions, now is the time. OCL on Instagram. If you search the letter OCL, it will come up on Instagram.
I have a few brochures that I'll leave here for you guys, so you guys can have all the information.
Okay, I see a hand here.
Mike.
I have a question. I know you said you need help, and we're going to make sure someone else help you, even if it's not us. But is your question specifically about police stops? Yes? Okay. Okay, we're going to do one mic so I can hear everybody, okay? When she finishes, we can come over to you, okay? Give us 1 second. Thank you so much.
Okay. My name is Marie Leoma. I lost my 2 kids by, actually, I could say like a fraud case where they have the attorney, and I won a case for my oldest daughter, and then the attorney conspired with probate judge along with other lawyers in the state of Connecticut. They tried to defraud my oldest daughter the money, and I fired out. And then with all those misleading, and then I ended up being homeless.
Mhm.
I went to a homeless shelter in Stanford, a Spirica shelter. And I went there, I cried for help. I said, I want so much money for my oldest daughter. And this is what those lawyers being to me. They keep and then they sent me to Florida. They said they're going to buy a house for the child, all those things, and there's no money. And then when I end up homeless, and I said, okay, that's the state of Connecticut, so, I mean, I'm here, I want help. So when I get to the shelter, I give them all those documents. I call the Stanford police. I give them all those papers, those lawyers, like, give me. And then they removed me. They sent me to a hotel. They said they're going to talk to those lawyers. And then within 7 days, they sent 2 ladies act like DCF and 4 police officers. They came in the hotel. They handcuffed me. They drugged me. They took my 3 kids away. Since October 16, 2024, I call everywhere for help. Nobody helped me. I keep coming here. I go everywhere. Like, I believe they're looking for me to kill me because the probate judge, along with the high-profile lawyer in the state of Connecticut, they wanted to kill me. Instead, they exposed those lawyers. It's Koskoff, and me, their lawyers. And then the probate judge, it's Charles, and all those other high-profile lawyers. They want to take the money from the kids. And they kidnap the kids. They have the people in the state of Pennsylvania that's conspire along with him to hurting my 16-year-old. She sent me a picture. All her hair fell off. I don't know what they're trying to do with her because I don't know if they took the money. I don't know what they have done, or maybe they're trying to hide the reputation because they high profile attorney. Now 3 kids being missing, we don't know. So I'm looking for help. I'm doing process as a single mother in federal court. The judge, this process biased me. They keep dismissing. I have an appeal in the second circuit in New York. I get sick. Every time now I'm thinking about what they have done to me and my kids. I can't keep going. Now I am here as an immigrant in Haiti. I am looking for help. I keep crying everywhere.
So,
like, I want help. Like, in America, no one is above the law. The kids not supposed to be in suffer.
Yeah,
For people that doing fraud, that's a no-no. I know I can help.
Yeah,
That's
so
why I'm
ma'am,
here.
if you could
Asking
give me a
for
second
help.
to respond to you. I'm sorry you went through that. I can't imagine what you're going through right now. Yeah. So I've heard similar stories to what you've gone through, and I was able to assist these folks with connecting them with the right people. So just see me after this, and I promise you I'm gonna get you some phone numbers. All right? I got you. I got you. I got you. Let's talk after this panel, okay? I got a few people that can help you out.
And wait 1 second. So I want to say this is a safe space. That's one. So people are being vulnerable in this space, so we want to respect that. But I also want to say, if you have private stories you want to share with us, you can wait till we finish the panel, and we'll help you on the side. We want to just ask questions about the presentation today so that we can clarify anything that we talked about, specifically about stop, frisk, and search. If you have more detailed cases about being stopped and frisked, we would love to help you. We will be here to support you in whatever way we can. If it's not us, we will connect you with another organization that can. But we do want to make sure we have room for people to ask questions about what we talked about today, okay? Thank you so much.
I just have a very basic question. I'm a little bit confused about your offices because it says Manhattan Office Community Liaison. I don't know what, are you from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office?
No.
What's the Community Liaison's office?
Okay, yeah, so.
And how would we get in touch?
Absolutely. Thanks for that question. I know it seems a bit confusing on this. So the office, so in short, I was appointed as the community liaison, all right? After I was appointed by the community liaison, I created the Office of the Community Liaison. So I was appointed by the Southern District of New York, which is the United States District Courts, otherwise known as the federal courts. And then after that, the Office of the Community Liaison was created. So we can be reached on our website, www.officeofthecommunityliaison.com. We also can be found on all social media websites, as Tatiana said, OCL, or Office of the Community Liaison. You can find us there. And then we just opened up an office in Brooklyn as well. Just pay attention to our social media sites and stuff like that. We'll have our grand opening soon, probably within the next 30 days. My name is Jermaine Thompson. I don't know who asked that. I just heard it.
And to clarify, I know that there's a community liaison under the mayor's office. That's not us. That's a separate entity. We are an independent office. We don't have any ties to any of these agencies so that we're able to do the job with fairness. So that clarifies. Yes.
She had a question really quickly. She had a question.
Oh, thank you. The 4 levels that you've pointed out, but my question is, if I'm walking along and I'm stopped, at what point do I understand what the probable cause is, what level we're working at, and what my rights are at that situation? Or is this something that I just have to let them pat me down and then figure it out later at the end, was that real or was that authorized or not? So when do I find out from the police what the level of probable cause is and what I can do in that situation, what I can't do in that situation?
Yeah, so for one, police are not always transparent and straightforward. We all know that, right? But by design, they technically don't have to be. But you always have the right to ask questions. We advise you to ask, what level stop is this? Or why are you stopping me? What is your reason for investigating? What are you searching for? What are you looking into? You can ask them questions just as much as they can ask you. You can ask them if their body camera's on. You should ask that. You should confirm that. It's a red flashing light.
Or am I detained?
You can also clarify at a level 3 or 2, am I being detained? Do you have a reason to hold me? Can I go home? Am I free to go? Those are all questions that clarify where you're at. When you're at a level 2 and 3, it is a bit confusing because some of the questions are accusatory, as Matilda talked about. So you're like, am I in trouble? Do I have to stay here? So you can ask them clearly, am I free to go or am I being detained? Remember we talked about that phrase? That's the phrase that pays. Level 1 is consensual encounter. You don't have to talk to them at a level 1. At any level, you technically don't have to. But level 1, you can walk away. A level 2, you also can walk away, but you might not be sure, again, because of the types of questions. That's where you clarify, am I free to go or am I being detained? Also, you asked another question about if they have the right to frisk you. That is something that they determine when and if they do it. But if you know that they've asked you certain types of questions that you've answered with clarity and you know you don't have any evidence of a weapon on your person, that's something you probably want to pursue in a complaint after the fact with our office as well as the CCRB, the Civilian Complaint Review Board. They do official government complaints on police officers. We do anonymous complaints to put as a part of the lawsuit for stop and frisk. Does that clarify your questions? Yes.
Yeah, they have to set their camera on.
They're supposed to have it on, but they don't always have it on. That's some of the issues we hear during our feedback, but you have the right to ask them to put their camera on, and you should look to see that it's on. You also have the right to record. If you have a phone or your friends or you're with someone that's being stopped, you can record. Just be mindful not to be too close to the officer or standing behind them. You want to go like 10 to 20 feet and zoom in if you need to. You always want to record badge numbers. That's very important. You can also ask for a business card. That will tell you their badge number, who they report to, and what precinct it is. Those are very important for us to know as well.
And if you're not able to record, you can also ask a bystander that's by you or someone that's walking past to also record for you.
And please don't reach. Don't reach in your pockets while being stopped.
If your phone is already out, okay, but don't reach for anything during the stop. That's not a good idea. Obviously, they could determine if you're reaching for something dangerous. So it's one question here, and then you over there, okay?
Yeah, so I guess my concern is I think there's a very thin line between 2 and 3, and what's probable cause or seems suspicious of one person is very normal in certain environments.
Very true.
So it's kind of like, what measures are in place to make sure that there is a reason why people are being stopped? Because, sometimes I feel like, you could be walking and going about your business and you're being stopped and you're so confused, you have not given any reason. And I might feel in my mind that I'm okay to walk away because I didn't even do anything, while from their angle, I'm suspicious of God knows what, So it's like, obviously, according to what you're saying, you'd have to, address that issue after the fact and don't resist what they're telling you to do. But what measures are in place? Because, again, when we talk about probable cause, that's still a very open, broad, concept.
Absolutely.
So probable cause can be one of many things, and I think that's a great question that you asked. No longer is it the way you're dressed, what colors you wear, what neighborhood that you live in, because back then we came from a stop and frisk era where that was probable cause. Now probable cause can be something that the officers saw with their eye that may look suspicious. So when I say suspicious, it could be a person running from a crime scene. Mind you, and the NYPD does get dispatch calls. So depending on the details of that call, they may see somebody fleeing the scene of a certain location, and in their body movements, the person may be just pulling their pants up, but to them it may look like they're trying to hold their waistband from a gun. So at that point, that may be deemed as probable cause if there's like a 911 call, or let's just say someone made a police report that someone harmed them or they're afraid for their life. Sometimes officers see on the street a handshake can be misconstrued of someone exchanging contraband. Things of that nature is what we consider probable cause. It can't be something that an officer just feels like this person is suspicious.
And I'll add to that. So we go to trainings at NYPD's headquarters so that we can learn how officers are being trained in regard to stop, question, and frisk, so we can understand their mindset when they're on the streets in our communities. So to answer your question in detail, so we know sometimes they target specific neighborhoods. We all know that, right? We know NYCHA developments, that's part of the lawsuit, it's on the list. But they can't use one reason alone, to Mauricia's point. Like, they have one reason if an emergency. She said if it was a crime that happened specifically. But outside of that, more to the question you were asking, they need a few things to align before they have enough reason to approach you. Officers can approach you at a level 1 anytime because those are general questions. At level 1 means they could ask any of us in this room the same kind of questions if it was an incident that happened nearby. But a level 2 is more specific and pointed towards you, so they have to have more observed details to confirm why they're approaching you specifically. So that means you would fit a description by your physical appearance. That means that your actions or behavior look suspicious, like you're hiding a weapon or moving a weapon around. That means that you have nervous behavior when you see officers and you keep looking. It means you might be hiding your face or disguising your appearance when you see them, or moving in a different direction when you see officers approach you. Those are some of the lists that they use. Also, the time of night and day, because we know at nighttime sometimes they may heighten their suspicion, the neighborhood, and it also could be your appearance and your movements, but not one of those things alone. Does that make sense? Like, they need multiple of those things I just named to come together to say they have enough reason to approach you. Because they used to use one of those things alone. Oh, I'm in a bad neighborhood. It's a high crime neighborhood. Always, it's dark at night. We see a person. That's not enough. They are not supposed to use race or ethnicity or appearance, to Mauricia's point, to stop anyone. Those are protocol things, and that's why there was a lawsuit in the first place. And the people won the lawsuits because of those things.
If I could just add on quickly, because I see a lot of people like shaking their head, and so let's understand there's rights, realities, and responsibilities. Yes, sir. Right? We know we're talking about the rights, but we know the realities of the situation, and now it's our responsibility to take these rights and put them into action, into real life situations.
If anyone have any questions, we have a line right here. Just come up here. Thank you.
It was a gentleman on this side too that had raised his hand after this young lady, and I told him next to. Sorry. So you want to come over? Okay. 10 minutes left. Okay. We have 10 minutes, so please keep your questions brief if you can, so we can hear from everyone.
Hi, my name is Opal, and I'm the chair of the HOJ Deaf Club here, and there are many deaf people, deaf that are hard of hearing. There are 280,000 in the 5 boroughs here that are deaf, hard of hearing, and that they have to face the police many times, and even myself. It is just not easy knowing deaf. You really don't have any trust of them. And especially for the deaf and how we communicate with our hands. And so we're moving and you're saying, wait, don't put it in rage, don't reach to your hands. But I speak with my hands. How am I going to do that? How do I work with the deaf? How do I work with the cops on that? And I'm just not happy with that type of instruction that we give to people, to tell them, oh, don't move, don't this and that, but this is how we communicate. That doesn't help us with our language. We use our bodies, we use our fingers, we use our expressions. And most of the times the cops, really, they don't know what to do with deaf or hard of hearing people. And that's a big problem. There's not a lot of training. And we pay taxes. We vote. We do everything that everybody else do. We should be able to have training for cops as well. Black, brown, red, it doesn't matter who you are. So the cops really should have more of an incentive to know who we are as well.
Yeah. So first I want to say thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. This is the first time I've heard that at all, honestly. And it really hit home when you were just speaking. So I would love to connect with you and your organization. Let's sit down and let's speak about ways of how we can help the hearing impaired in the process when they're having. Yeah, we'll even be willing to kind of print out some brochures to hand to your organization and hand out to folks. So when they all stop by cops, they could just pull the card out and invoke their rights or ask questions. However they or request somebody that speaks sign language to come on the scene. However that may look. So we would love to connect with your organization and see how we could push that process forward.
Hi, my name is Danae Hudson. I'm from Benedict College. I'm a junior psychology major with a minor in criminal justice. My question is, how does not probable cause, stop and frisk and the Fourth Amendment tie in together, knowing the Fourth Amendment is the police cannot search you without a physical warrant from a state or federal judge?
Yeah, you heard Tatiana earlier speak about officers having to give business cards and stuff like that, right? So there's something called the Right to Know Act in New York City. Under the Right to Know Act, an officer, before he even tries to search you, he has to ask you, do you consent to this search? You have the right not to consent to this search, right? So when we speak about the Fourth Amendment is part of the lawsuit that we're working on. That's the reason why we're doing it. You heard Tatiana earlier speak about level 3s and frisk, right? There's a difference between a frisk and a search. But a lot of times we get feedback from community members that they're being frisked, but an officer's hand slips in their pocket, right? That becomes a search. They're tugging around their waistband, but their hands slip into their waist. That becomes a search, right? Those are all violations of rights. So it's important for us as an office to be able to educate communities around what a frisk is, what a search is, these different levels. I know it's a lot of information, right? It's kind of hard to get it all and understand it all in one day. We're still learning to this day, and we've been in this role for years. So I'm glad you asked that question because that's an important question. That's what this office is founded on, searches. Right, and black and brown communities being unlawfully searched every single day. Even though we don't see it happening, even though statistically we don't see it happening like it used to back in 2009, 10, 11, 13, it's still happening at a high rate, whether it's reported or not, right? So I hope that answers your question. No problem.
Oh, and also, I'd like to sidebar with you at the end because you said you go to Benedict College. I'd love to explore opportunities to have feedback sessions with you guys. Got it.
Hi, my name is Mylinda Lee, and my question is to his reality about you get a summons, you were compliant, the summons shouldn't exist, you go to court, and they put it on the back burner for a whole year. So I myself, I'm 63 years old, on a scooter that I put on the sidewalk to lock, not ride. I didn't make it an inch, and a cop came to me and said, hey, you're on the sidewalk. She gave me a summons. Her partner, they summoned 3 other officers to give me the ticket. He told her, that's not a registered type bike. It's a scooter. I still got the ticket. The first one, she put the wrong date, so they threw that one out. The second one was the Department of Motor Vehicles, which they adjourned it to 2027. So I asked your office, can you please look into the tickets or the summons that we should not get and make sure they disappear as they should have never been existed, because that is duress placed on us. As a senior citizen, I serve my community. This is wrong.
So when it comes to like the scooters and stuff like that, they have NYPD have these different like operations that they do, and they target certain things that's happening around the city. And I know scooters was one of the big things. They're trying to like get scooters that are not registered, doesn't have insurance and stuff like that off the streets. So that may be what you got caught up in. What I'm saying is like they may have been just targeting scooters, and that may have what you got caught up in. But when you go to court, 9 times out of 10 they're going to end up dismissing it. But I understand your situation where you waste a waste of your time to be sitting here being drugged back and forth to court and things like that. But we see that happening all the time, especially with like jaywalking, failure to disperse, the scooter situation. We hear that all the time. So if you want to talk more deeply about it after this, I'll be happy to speak with you.
Hi, how are you? My name is Allison. I'm also known as Cleaning for You Too. So I'm a small business, and I have a lot to do during the course of the day. My daughter was getting on the train. At the time, the Metro card, she was swiping. It didn't work. So I'm working. so I'm like, okay, I say, who's there? An officer. I said, okay, so ask them for help. Call me back, whatever. She calls me, and she's already aggravated because now she's running late. The card is not working. She's like, Mom, is money on the card? I gotta go. And she's like, but he told me, oh, you were gonna jump anyway. All of y'all do it in this neighborhood anyway. I said, it took me back to when she was in my stomach and I had to deal with an officer, but I won't into that now. But I told her, I said, you know what? You have a mouth, use it. So she didn't want to write it, just like I didn't when I was threatened. And he tried to pepper spray me and all kind of stuff when I was pregnant. And I did nothing wrong. But I told her, I said, you know what? You're going to write it. You're going to write it, and you're going to do it, and you're going to say something. So I had to leave what I was doing. I was at a council member's office cleaning. Dropped everything, had to drop my business, run over there. So I saw 2 cops. I went on FaceTime. I said, which one is it? So he's telling me I couldn't videotape him. I said, why not? Why can't I take a picture of you? So when she saw him, she said, yes, that's him. I said, okay. So as I'm talking to him, I said, there was a little girl here. She was trying to get on the train. She had somewhere to be at a certain time. I said, did you try to help her, or did you tell her that she's just like everybody else in the community, and what did that mean? So he's like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about, but I noticed his partner, she kept staring at me, and you could tell like that wall of silence, but she looked relieved, but she couldn't say anything, and I felt for her, but I was like, wow. So she wrote the report, CCRB. Good. And he got a violation because he didn't have the camera on.
Excellent.
So I want to know, as a parent and a small bit, because I got too much going on, what else can I do to train this young lady to keep going along the way so she's protected? I don't want to get that phone call because I know the type of mother I am, I know where I'll be. So I need help with that. What would you? I'm in Long Island, but it don't matter. I'm in every borough.
Okay, so we definitely are all available. We can meet with her in person. We can meet with her on Zoom. We can set up a schedule to, see her weekly, whatever it works for her, to basically give her those rights and just take feedback. And she can also advocate for her community and her schools, her friends, and make it a community thing.
But I also want to add this too, because this question comes up a lot, like how can we change things, or like things are not the way we want it to be. So there's different factors in how all of us do this work as organizers, right? There's advocacy, there's services, there's data and research, and there's policy and legislation. Policy and legislation is what changes the law that they abide by. Our group is technically research and data. We're collecting feedback. So we do have limited power in certain spaces to help all of you when you talk about legal rights, when you talk about a lawyer, when you talk about changing the law. But all of us have worked in all these different spaces within the justice space where we work with legislators. You mentioned the city council member's office. You all in your neighborhood are voting for people that represent you. You have to hold them accountable to the laws and things that are determining how you live, your environment. All of us as people who vote and are active in our neighborhoods have the right to speak up. You can write petitions, you can door knock in your building, you can go and write out a law and ask one of your policymakers to pass it through. There are assembly members, council members, and state senators in our neighborhoods that all represent us. That is how we make change, along with advocacy, along with protests, along with data and research. All of these things work together. Yes, the judiciary system is horrible. Someone mentioned about going to court and being stuck in court for years. We know that some of the lawyers don't represent us in the way that we need to. So we need to be mindful that all of these systems work together, but they are separate. So we have to kind of attack each system separately. Our system is about your feedback, you telling us these stories. The more people share, we have more research and data to give the courts to make changes in the policy. So I just want to make that connection for folks, that I feel like sometimes it's hard for us to say, we can't help you this way, but this is what we're doing to move this forward. You're welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is John Week Morgan. I am a freshman at Lincoln University. Many of my peers come from New York and the surrounding boroughs of the area, and they have their fears, of course. My question here, though, is if they're stopped and frisked and their property or their goods are damaged, is there any way of a possible reimbursement in this day and age?
You said if their goods are damaged?
Yeah, their property or whatever.
Property, yeah, you always could file like civil lawsuits and claims if your belongings are damaged. It's a long process, but it absolutely you can file civil lawsuits to get that stuff replaced.
Okay. In recent times, have any of these been like successful?
Absolutely, all the time. People sue all the time. Yeah, I mean, people that actually, you know, like get tired of it, they sue. They get stopped all the time, they sue. You know, every time they do it, they sue it, 15, 7, 8, 5, 10, $25,000. You know, I mean, you think about it. I don't know. I don't think the numbers came out for last year, but the year before that, NYPD spent about $141 million in lawsuits. You know, in 1 year. So this year, I think it was a little less from what I think it was around 117 million. But people sue all the time.
Thank you for your time.
No problem.
Last question right here.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Donna. I live in New Jersey, but I'm born and raised in Brooklyn. I'm a Brooklynite to the heart.
That's right.
I have children. I have nieces. I have nephews. Are you guys holding any workshops to train young people on what to do when they are stopped by the police?
Especially by the Hop Out Boys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we do those all the time. I would say if you follow us on social media, you'll see a lot of the stuff that we post as public forums. But we hold workshops multiple times during a week in all boroughs. So we work with different organizations throughout the city.
Yes.
Schools.
You just let us know. Whatever place
churches.
you want us to come, you reach out to one of us and we will connect with you. We're open and flexible. We work with schools. We work with elected officials. We work with tenant associations. We work with community programs. We work with alternative to detention programs. We're everywhere. We want to be everywhere. So if all of you have connections or places you want us to be, please let us know. We're going to come.
And also, we are about to start utilizing our social media and post a lot of relatable content for young people. So if you follow us on Instagram, we're going to start posting a lot of content. So you can send your young people there to like watch our videos. They'll be entertaining and relatable.
Thank you very much, panelists. This is the wrap up. If you can give a quick 10-second out, everybody go down the line. What you want how the people to follow you and everything.
Impactful Tea on Instagram. But I just want to say that education is important. You know, some people feel like their voices aren't important. Some people feel like, oh, how far is it going to go? But if you don't pass the message along, how far do you think it's going to go? So just pass what you've heard along.
Yeah, so our Instagram is officeofthecommunityliaison.com, or you could search OCL. Same thing on the website, officeofthecommunityliaison.com. One thing that I leave you all with is power in silence. For my young people in the room and the elders that have grandchildren and children, please let them know, don't argue with them, just be quiet. Watch how they walk away.
And I want to say that it's kind of opposite of what Jermaine said, but I think our voice is our power. A lot of our communities, we feel powerless, we feel hopeless. We've been dealing with the same things with NYPD for generations, and a lot of us feel like things are not changing. But I personally believe that the work that all of us have been doing has stemmed from our own lived experience with police, with jails, with prison systems. And we speak up and advocate for our communities and for our people, and you can do the same.
And for me, I say that every community has different issues that some can relate to and some can't. And for those that they have certain issues in community that they can't relate to, don't turn a blind eye, because at any point in time, it could arrive on your doorstep. You being a witness, you getting this information today can help someone, even if it's not someone you directly know.
All right, let's give Let's give them one more big, great hand. We're going to take a picture. And we are going to go into our next panel, which is the panel that everybody... Oh, okay, yes. And they're going to leave you all business cards, brochures, and all of that. You can get it. But we want to take a picture. And then we are going to begin the panel that everybody waits for every year at the end of Youth and College Day, the state of black men in America. And we're glad that we have a lot of folks here with us. Let's take a picture. Quickly. Thank you, everybody. Let's all give them one more big, great hand. All right. Let's settle down. We're going to begin. We're going straight into our next. Yes, sir. All right. Okay, we are going now into our State of the Black Men in America panel. Let's try to get some order. Play some music for a minute, please.
This organization has been on the front line. People ask me why do families call us, because we never leave them. No justice! No justice! What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? When do we want it? When do we want it? When do we want it?
I'm gonna get you a new one. I wrote it this year. Yeah, I know. All right. All right, everybody please take your seat. We're gonna begin now. Shh. If you need to speak, go in the hallway, please. We have to get this next panel started, and that is the all-anticipated, always waited on State of Black Men in America's panel. Thank you. My God, you got the mean ushers. Ooh. Oh, God. Gotta love it. Okay. Let's begin. We're going into now the third and final panel for this afternoon. And I want to give these brothers all the time that they need to go forth in this panel. And this will be the conclusion of today for Youth and College Day. But this is the state of black men in America. And as we know, black men are under attack every day. And our black women are also under attack. But we want to, in a society that does not uplift men very so often, we want to be in a space here at NAN where we uplift our men, our male figures, whomever they may be, that are leading role models and that are going forward. And so every year we have this panel to do just that. And so this panel is entitled, as I said, Protecting the Promise, the State of Black Men, and the Future of Our Community. And we are welcomed by some extreme, powerful people that will speak to us. And so as I call your name, I want you to come to the dais. Forgive me if I mess up your name or something's wrong. Y'all just correct me, okay? All right. First coming to the dais, we have the Reverend Dr. Miles Travis Boyd, Senior Pastor of the Sharon Baptist Church in the Bronx, New York. Let's give him a big, great hand. Is this it? Yeah, that's it. Okay. You sit in that first seat, sir. Now we will have come up to the dais Eric Clayette, Executive Director of 100 Black Men of New York. Rashad Flake, a political strategist. Let's give him a hand as he comes. The Honorable Landon Diaz. The Honorable Landon Diaz, Assembly Member of New York City, Assembly 77. Give him a big hand. Dr. Charles Gibbs, President of the Metropolitan College of New York, NCNY. My mother graduated from there with her master's. There you go. I'm not the only one wearing this. Who am I missing? I see Khalil. The Honorable Khalil Anderson is here, Assembly Member of the New York City District 31. Give him a hand. I didn't forget him. And the Honorable William Smith, District Leader of New York City's Assembly District 68. Give him a hand.
Do you need us to move down one? Or can you just slide, Eric, can you just slide over a little bit to the right?
Yes, everybody just slide over. I know there's a lot of us. And then we also have to go forward. Dr. Dominic Lester, Education Chairman of Alpha Lambda Chapter, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Let's give him a big hand. Are there any alphas in here? No alphas in this room. I know there's some alphas next door. I know there's some folks that are next door. But let's give them all one big, great hand at this time. No, come on, give them a big hand. And so we were going to have remarks by our New York City public advocate, Jamani Williams, but unfortunately, due to his schedule, he had to run the parade down the street. He got caught up in that parade. And so we are going to begin the panel. And I believe our moderator for today is... No, not him. I believe our moderator for today is the president of MCNY. Okay. So let us welcome him as he comes to moderate our panel for today. Are you not our moderator?
Yeah. Well, I can step up to be the moderator. I mean.
Okay, well, come on, sir.
We can do that.
All right, Brother Gibbs. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yes, please. No, so we can move.
Okay, well, then never mind. How about it?
Oh, he's moving over.
Then you got to be on the panel.
Oh, what happened? Nothing.
All right, let's give them all one more big, great hand. So to start, I want you all to tell us your name. And we're going to begin. You're going to start from my right. Yes, my right. Well, our right, their left. Starting with you, Pastor Boyd. Tell us your name, who you are. And we'll
Sure.
go
My
from
name
there.
is Reverend Dr. Miles Travis Boyd. I am the senior pastor of Sharon Baptist Church in the Bronx, New York.
Hi, my name is Eric Clayette. I'm the executive director of 100 Black Men of New York. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. I'm Assembly Member Landon Days, Esquire. I represent the 77th District of the Southwest Bronx, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Rashid Flake from Southeast Queens, representing Empowerment Incorporated, ran by my mother, Margaret Elaine Floyd H. Flake.
Top of the afternoon, Charles Gibbs, 7th President, Metropolitan College of New York, and the first African-American president in the school's 60-year history.
Good afternoon. My name is William Smith. I'm a Democratic District Leader representing the 68th Assembly District, East Harlem.
All right. Greetings and good afternoon, everyone. I am State Assembly Member Khalil Anderson, and I represent parts of Southeast Queens, and I'm really excited to be here today.
Good afternoon. My name is Reverend Dr. Dominic Lester. I serve as an assistant principal in East Harlem, and I serve as the director of educational activities for for the Alpha Gamma Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
All right, let's give them a hand. All right, there sounds like there's a little issue up here. There's two different fraternities that I know of. We have
three.
Oh, there's three. Okay, well, we have the Alpha down there. We have a Kappa right here, and who's the third one?
We got Sigmas, Qs, we all here.
Oh, wow, then that's four. My Lord, Ashley done messed up. Whoa, all right, well, y'all stay in your individual corners. And don't cause no trouble up here. As we're going into this panel, I want to first start with our elected officials that are on this panel. And I want to talk about first stigmas, issues that black men in politics. What are issues that black men, political figures in politics that black men, what are some of the issues that you deal with, some of the stigmas that you've had to overcome, or even stereotypes that you felt like you have faced since you have taken in your political office? I don't know how long you've been involved in your seat in politics, but go right on ahead and feel free to answer that.
I'm older than Khalil, but Khalil actually has more seniority than me in the assembly, so I'll allow him to go first.
So good afternoon. Thank you so much, Assemblymember Diaz. I'll say one stigma that we get, particularly in my profession and purview, is that we're too young, right? I think when I was elected, I was 24, and I think that the youngest African American in state history. And I think that the challenge that comes with that is that they say that you're too young, so that you may not be able to create policy or be able to advocate effectively for your community. And it goes and it runs the gamut in terms of ageism, right? I'm too young, maybe someone else is too old, or maybe someone else is beyond their prime, or X, Y, and Z. All of these types of things that deal with ageism impact how we're looked at as black men in the legislature and across the board.
I'll go a slightly different direction. I was blessed, two parents who put education first for me and my older brother. I'm a proud graduate of Morehouse College, a proud graduate of Columbia University and Hofstra Law School. And so one thing I've often heard, Khalil will tell you I'm pretty good on the floor when I speak and in debating, and some people try to think it's a compliment. It's like, oh, you speak so well, or you debate well. And it's like, yeah, all right. I mean, that's my job. And so I think just because as a black man, suddenly if you can create an eloquent legal argument in policy and community engagement in politics, they are surprised, and they shouldn't be. Even if you don't speak proper grammar or whatever, you can still put together a street smart and eloquent answer that still answers the question at hand. The second part I will say is one thing that's black men specifically that we do have to face. We have to be able to control our emotions, because when we are emotional, it's considered out of pocket or out of control. But when our colleagues probably from the right do it, they're considered patriotic and passionate. And so, and a good example that Khalil is extremely dedicated to changing the trajectory of young black men in this country and in the state, and he gets passionate about it. And they try to mistake that as a weakness when, in my opinion, it's one of his greatest strengths. And he fights every day for the people in Far Rockaway and Queens, as I do for the Bronx.
Any one of our other panelists want to take the question?
I think that in my capacity as a district leader, I started off very frustrated. Right, I took over my position at the end of the conclusion of the pandemic. We were dealing with a lot of challenges in the community, and sentiment was very low. And my community was very frustrated, and they wanted me to pass that along to the elected representation in our area. So as a result of that, I was branded as being, oh, William's frustrated, he's always angry, he's mad. No, I'm passing along what the voters have empowered me to do. My job is to pass along the sentiment. And the sentiment at that time and still is that we're not pleased with what we're seeing in our communities, but the minute a man of color steps up, speaks up, regardless, as the Assemblymember mentioned, with eloquence, or what the Assemblymember has been spotlighted for, his passion for men of color and making sure that we're empowered, then we're tagged as having an attitude. And I just don't think that's fair. And at the end of the day, everyone here wants to see our community thrive and be prosperous. But at the end of the day, we're not seeing the budgetary commitments. But I thank both of the assembly members for the work that you do, advocating for us, but we still have a lot more work to do. So until I see the results, until I feel the results, until our community tells us we're seeing some progress, you'll continue to see some of that frustration. But it's all about how we channel it and how we work together as a community.
We have a lot of strong and black prominent men up here. So one of the questions that we have is mental health. How do you go through it? What's the outlets? How do we break down the stigma of what needs to be defined as a strong black man, so that way our children can start to heal? Because they say it's easier to train up a child than to do an older man and an older person. So what are some of the things that you all do to release and also tap in with your emotions? Or do you do that at all? Or because sometimes we're stuck in our ways, we're stuck in the, oh, I'm gonna just have to thug it out. I'm gonna have to keep on going through and keep on going through. So what are some things that you all do or not do, and how does that help you?
I think we have to recognize that lots of us were raised to be leaders, we are providers for our family, we're protectors. And with that comes a code. There's a lot that we have to do to protect our families, to protect our communities, protect our businesses, protect our children. But the thing that allows us to kind of release some of that stress is to talk in community with one another about what the issues are. I know if you were to hold a glass of water in your hand for a couple of seconds, that's not going to be an issue. But if you held it for an hour, your arm would hurt, it would be paralyzed, it'd be a problem, right? That's what happens when you hold it in. But if you release it and you let some of that out, it's the same sort of thing as stress and mental stress. You need to have outlets, places of community where you can talk about issues, safe spaces where we as community and as black men get together and talk about issues that are germane to black people, so we can be about the issues. That's one of the methods that we should use to address mental health issues. I don't want to take up the entire conversation. Brother?
If I could say this, as a pastor, one of the things I had to learn is taking time for myself, but then also finding my community. Because when I first started about 2 years ago, I was always on the go, always doing, always just about the church. And I had to realize that I had to be about Travis and consider Travis. And so I had to find people that I could be vulnerable with that had safe space for me. Because what happens is, as a black man, as black men, right, we are always taught you have to be macho, you have to be strong, you have to be the head, you shouldn't cry. And I had to find someone who I could cry to. I had to find someone I can lean on and not feel like I was less than a man or be emasculated because I wanted to be more in touch with my feelings and who I was as an individual. But I also realized, too, we like to always take it and say, well, you know, prayer changes everything, and take it to the Lord in prayer. Sometimes we should take it to a therapist.
That's what I was about to say.
Sometimes we should take it to a psychiatrist. Bible reminds us faith without works is dead, right? You have to do the work in order for God to do the rest. And so I think being able to find your opportunity of solitude, your moments of peace within yourself, and finding the right community to share those feelings and thoughts with.
Thank you, brother. Brother, did you want to go? Nah, he pretty much. You know, family, I tell you, you know, as a college president and the first African American, it should not always be the first, right? And we were just talking about, you know, the struggles and the pressures of the black men. And I'm reminded of my mother, my 82-year young mother, who bet me $50 that I wouldn't graduate from high school with my class. I was a special ed student. I was self-contained 6 out of 8 periods. And I didn't know my high school had a 4th floor. But when she bet me that $50, I didn't realize that I would be motivated to parlay that $50 into 3 degrees from Howard University and ascend to a college presidency. And I use that story because my mother put me in a summer enrichment program that was called Upward Bound. And Upward Bound saved my life because it showed me that I could go to college, right? Living in a dormitory. I didn't really realize what that small box really felt like. And today, when we're up against the struggles of an administration that is cutting TRIO programs, Upward Bound programs, college prep programs, while we're at the second half of our journey, I'm talking about the pathways to the younger brothers that need this level of guidance about the continuum of strong black men. And we recently closed our Lower Manhattan campus, located on 60 West Street. As when I first interviewed, I walk on 60 West Street, and it's a beautiful campus, beautiful space, but that ain't where my people are. So I moved our campus to the South Bronx on East 149th Street. Looking out my window is a building called Horizon Juvenile Detention Center that is housing 275 young brothers. We got to create opportunity for pathways, and as my brother from 100 Black Men stated, as the executive director, I'm the former national CEO of 100 Black Men of America, and our motto is very simple. What they see is what they'll be. So we got to begin to put the positiveness in what they see in our community. And we're very fortunate at Metropolitan College of New York to lead the Fatherhood Initiative for fathers who are coming back out of incarceration, trying to get visitation rights with their families, and creating that safe space to let them know that it's okay to not be okay. And so self-care, creating those spaces are paramount for generations to come. Not for the man that's 55 years old now. I'm talking about that young brother that's 18 who's sleeping on his mother's couch and doesn't know what his next move is. That's where I'm really ready to tap into. And that creates a stronger community, future fathers, future generations of success. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marquise Francis. Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late. I'm a correspondent at NBC News. We are not working on CP time today. We are on time today, so I'm blessed to hear that. So I'm going to keep the conversation going. Thank you for that. So the next question, I want to start with Khalil Anderson. How are systems, whether education, employment, or justice, still failing black men today?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I think about the education system and the fact that we have great programs like My Brother's Keeper, Expanded Success Initiative in some of our public schools, it's very selective on where those schools are rather than standardizing the supports and services that our young black men need. So that's number one. Number two, when we look, just as this Dr. Gibbs had mentioned, there are a lot of students that are either special needs, District 75, and or have behavioral problems in circumstances of the same, including myself when going through the K through 16 system. And so for someone like me or Dr. Gibbs, another way the public education system is failing black men is that it doesn't highlight these students for their abilities rather than their disabilities. Right. And so what that looks like is making sure that we look at alternatives in which to channel the energy, the hyperactivity, the frustration, the OCD, all of those different things that make these students and young people neurodivergent. We take those neurodivergences and we say, why don't we pull out the talents? Why don't we help this young man or a young man work on X project that would help them work their brain muscles and things of that nature. So I say those are the two things. And third and most importantly, our school system doesn't invest in the way in which these students need to be invested in. And that's why I'm really, really excited and proud of my colleague, Assemblymember Diaz, because he has a piece of legislation that would create a statewide office of black male excellence, which would help our students and people across the city and state do what's necessary.
Thank you for that. I also want to introduce another member of our panel who just was able to join us. This is Reverend Michael Blake, Kairos Democracy Project CEO, founder, and congressional candidate for New York 15. So moving on to building and breaking cycles for a bit. My question, and this is open to the panel, start with the Reverend right here. What does real support for black men look like beyond slogans?
Peace, everybody. Peace, everybody. We need to make sure that our brothers are able to get jobs and opportunities and higher wages and not be looked at as negative statistics. We need for the media to shift the narrative of not looking at us as a thug, but more so a theoretical scholar. We need for policies to recognize that when I served in the Assembly, we created the My Brother's Keeper program. In large part, it was because we wanted to change the narrative on how you see black men. It is for us to appreciate that we have to make sure that we are seen as kings, not criminals. And a lot of times, the narrative is a fundamental reason why we can't make the moves we need to. But we also got to be very clear that institutionalized racism still exists and has to be broken. When you have the statistics that 1 out of 3 black men are going to serve some time in the criminal and justice system, in large part, thank you for using a flash. I'm a dark brother. I appreciate that. Right? You have to do these things because we have a system that is consistently trying to lock us up and hold us back. Right? And so to the question, there have to be practical and tactical steps that we're taking. Number one, in the same manner that we have to rehire black women that have been fired by the Trump administration, we have to have an incentive so that black men that get hired have the same opportunities as well, right? We have to have a dedicated appreciation around student loan forgiveness so that when you can go to school, you can graduate from school and be able to change the game. If you are consistently wondering if I can realize my dreams, but I am saddled with debt, you can't actually realize your dreams. And then lastly, and it may seem disparate, but it's real, we got to get out of these senseless wars, because when these wars are happening, it's black and brown bodies that are getting sent in. It is those of us that are being impacted. When we're talking about, it's not just high gas prices, it's lives being lost that look like ours. And so at the end of the day, if we are serious about changing the game, we have to change the narrative in how this country is seeing black men and making sure that we are invested in us economically, socially, in all manners. Tied to that, lastly, we understand that housing and childcare are the 2 fundamental expenses that impact many lives. And when you have a scenario where 1 out of 4 New Yorkers can't afford essentials, you've got to change policies when it comes to housing so that we can actually have a chance to realize your dreams. And that's one of the reasons why I said you got to end using credit scores when it comes to housing applications. You got to actually increase income limits, because I'm sick and tired of us being held back in so many of our communities. It shouldn't be the case that brothers that are trying to realize their dreams are stuck between being poor or realizing their promise. It is wrong and it's not acceptable, and that's how you change the game for brothers.
Thank you for that. And I do want to have one follow-up, and I want to open this question eventually to the rest of the panel as well. Obviously, when people come here, they want to feel how to enact these changes. But then how do you hold candidates and elected officials accountable when they get in office, and then these things that they talked about leading up to an election don't actually take place?
Well, you should elect people like Michael Blake who want to help you in Congress, and the folks that are in Congress that are not helping, you should get them out of office right now. Look, I am a Jamaican reverend, so I'm going to be very direct about it. You got a lot of fake cats that are in office, not those that are on stage, because Landon and Khalil have been doing the damn thing, but you got a lot of folks right now who have no business being in office right now. And what they're going to do is they're going to show up at NAN conferences, they're going to show up at different events and try to tell you that they're great, but they actually can't tell you anything they have done. You need to hold an elected official the same accountability, the same way you would for a child or your boss or someone else that's out here. And at the end of the day, no one gets to stay in a seat forever. If they can't actually show you what they have done, why are they there? At the end of the day, legislators, whether it be on the state level or on the federal level, the primary job, did you change laws for the better? I don't just need you to show up with a big check. I don't need you to show up for a chicken dinner. I don't need you to show up for a Thanksgiving event. Did you change the laws for the better? And if you did not do that, you should not have a job.
All right. I want to weigh in on that point. You said, how do we hold our elected officials accountable? We've had these type of discussions for so many years, right? Even before I was born. It's an ongoing theme. The problem is that are we, and I say are we, meaning is our community, are we doing a good job of empowering our everyday residents, people who are not as well versed in politics, to understand how to navigate government? Are we advocating for policies in the state budget and in the federal government to mandate ways for our youth and all community members to better understand how to navigate government, how to effectuate change? And I think that's one of the things that we're dropping the ball on. I know the Department of Education has a great Civics for All program, and that's fantastic. But what about once you're out of high school and you're in college, and now you're dealing with these policies that end up impacting your ability to sustain yourself? We need to make sure that when students are in CUNY, I know I'm a CUNY student, I know the Assembly member's a CUNY student, anyone that's a CUNY student can speak to this, but we need coursework so that way students understand when you run into these issues, you don't just go to your city council member. How do you navigate the committee process? Who do you speak to in the legislative drafting office so that way you can really know how to effectuate the change? We no longer want to empower our people to just understand, okay, I know that something needs to change. We want them to have the tools to go about effectuating the change on their own with the support of the leaders in the community.
My man. And thank you, brother. And family, very quickly, because you talked about education, so that was a great segue for me. But very clearly, I'm very clear on this. Young black men and black men in general are not monolithic in nature.
Yeah.
We each have separate needs and separate challenges.
That's right.
And we got to meet each one of those where we are. I'm not a CUNY institution, I'm not a SUNY institution, but I'm very clear when I met with both chancellors that I'm not here to compete, I'm here to complete.
Thank you.
One of the ways that we're addressing the completion is that realizing that every young man or woman are not ready to go to a 4-year institution. Right? They're not ready to go, they only want to go to a 2-year institution. But we got to begin to reshift the model of how we educate.
Yes.
Education is the greatest equalizer to the American dream.
Yep.
However, it doesn't require a 4-year degree. So we're implementing programs that specifically focus on certifications, on trade programs, stackable credentials. You may not ready to go to school today, but if you take this certification program in electricity, electrical work, or plumbing, you can now take that three credits and save it for when you're ready to go. Yeah. But at least you can go out there and begin to create a family-sustaining career. Not just a job, but a family-sustaining career. We got to diversify the educational model, and our system has to come along with us.
So I would like to dive in at the K-12 level and what that might look like for us. I think many of the times that we're having these discussions, we don't consider the fact that there are not many of us that look like us in buildings with these young people. Mm-hmm. And what we fail to do when we're not in those spaces, that those that are in those spaces, it becomes the black tax. Where we become their pastor, their therapist, their uncle, their cousin, all the things that they need in those spaces. So I would argue that it's not enough of us that dare to venture into those spaces when necessary. The second piece of that is that when we do enter into those spaces, we fail to make genuine relationships. Yep. And in our inability to make genuine relationships, we find ourselves often telling them what they ought to do, opposed to listening to the challenges that they bring with them. They bring a lot of trauma with them into our school buildings. They bring a lot of mental health challenges in our school buildings. They bring a lot of poverty in their school buildings, and they bring a lot of deficit mindsets where folk have already told them for 13 years that they were not valuable or worthy of being able to receive a quality education. So one of my pieces that I will argue is that it's also important that when we do show up, that we speak life over these young men. Not only do we speak life over them, that we expose them to things like this, where they actually are around other people who believe in them and see their brilliance and their zones of genius on a regular basis. So that looks like culturally relevant education. That looks like culturally sustaining education. That looks like us showing up and loving on them in the same ways that we want someone to love on us.
Yeah. And this next question I want to, clap it up. I want to turn to Eric. As obviously the executive director of 100 Black Men, what are we getting right when it comes to mentoring and developing young black men, and where are we still falling short?
So the things that we get right is that we show up. The fact that 100 Black Men nationally is considered one of the largest mentoring organizations in this nation suggests that we're getting it right. You've got more black men that are committed to the well-being of black children than any other group in the country. That's getting it right. When we get black men together, and the great thing about 100 Black Men is we are an umbrella organization. So at this table, you've got men that are Kappas and Qs and Sigmas and independent folks who are not part of an organization. We've got every Greek-letter organization, every Divine Nine organization, members from all the social organizations, all under this one umbrella. And these men come together for a purpose. And that purpose is to work with our young black children to make sure that they are getting the direction that they need. The value of a mentor, and everybody needs one, the value of a mentor is that we have experience. We've lived this life, and we want to share that experience over and over. What young people don't appreciate is the great information that's before them doesn't resonate with them immediately. It takes them a little bit of time, but they will remember that conversation. They will remember, hey, you know, Brother Gibbs, I remember when you told me that it didn't matter that I didn't get a 4-year degree, but I got this certificate. It made a difference in his life. That's right. So we get that part right. The thing that we get wrong is that mentorship isn't a once a week sort of thing. Mentorship has to happen every single day. When I was a younger person, I had an opportunity to run a program where I met with kids after school Monday to Saturday. 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Why? Because it gave them time and energy to do good things that were in their best interests. And so this means it was consistent. Because things happen in our children's lives every single day. And the things that happen in the school place, they're not going to talk about it in the school place. They need a window of opportunity to talk to caring adults about those issues outside of the school place, and not just on Saturday.
That's right.
So the consistency is the piece that I think that we don't necessarily get 100% right. The idea is there. We know it's what needs to happen, but we need to have these mentor opportunities Monday, probably to Sunday. I said Monday to Saturday because we gave them church on Sundays. But Monday to Saturday, we need to have our children around us and mentoring them regularly. So the right part and things we can work on.
Yeah. And 100 black men.
That program was part of the Harlem Hospital Injury Prevention Program. It was called Urban Youth Bike Corps, where we actually met, and it's actually still at Harlem Hospital if you're interested. But we met with kids Monday to Saturday, 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock. We put them on bicycles in the summertime and rode them all around the country and did a lot of great things. And I'm happy to tell you more about that afterwards because I know there's a lot of other great panelists that want to tell you about their programs. But that's it. Soccer, Dr. Soccer was absolutely part of the program.
One of my friends, one of my friends was in that program, and I want Brother Flake to also speak because he has also a different vantage point. But when we talk about black men, I represent a very large black and Latino district in the Southwest Bronx. And we talked about black men, I would also argue that we need to step up in our general standings. If you go to our community boards, if you go to our churches, if you look at the room right now, black women are outnumbering black men 2-3 to 1. Mm-hmm. Same as in schools. If you go to Morehouse, I went to Morehouse at HBCUs, women are outpacing us, I think 3.5 to 1, if not higher. And so something I tell the young men, and I say this, I am number 125. And I want you to say it, I'm number 125. I'm 125. That number is key because for most of us are all from the African diaspora. From the moment that we left Africa, it took 1,024 of your ancestors for you to be here today. So that means if one of them had died prior to the next generation being born, you would not be sitting in this room right now. And the reason why I use that number is to understand that you are special. And I try to tell that to the young men in my district. Khalil, because of him, we did the barbershop series in my district, something that he's done in Queens. And I said this to them, you're number 125, and you need to realize that you are something special. You are a mathematical equation. Only God can be the great mathematician to make it happen. And if you don't realize you're special, then you're not going to take yourself seriously. When you realize that you are an exception and not the rule, you will take yourself more serious. And when we let young men know that they have the ability, that they have the chance, when Eric mentored a young man by the name of Asakwe Bill, who then went to go to Morehouse College, he made a mistake and became an alpha like Eric, he was an influence. And when we talk about mentorship, you are a momentum wave that can create a stronger, more vibrant, more agile young man. And so when we talk about your number 125, realizing not just in your own ancestral plane, but my positive inflection and my positive influence on the young men in my district, when they see me walk my district, they now might become the next me, the next Eric, the next Mike, the next Khalil, the next Mr. Flake. They are seeing that. They need to be a part of it. But we need to make them believe and understand who they are. And that is what all the men on this dais are trying to do at this moment. Mm-hmm.
And going to Pastor Boyd as a pastor in the Bronx, how do you see this?
Well, I think, what I've witnessed over the years is there have been a lack of men in churches, and just identifying the fact that there were only a handful of men we can look up to. And so although you had all of these young black boys who were in church, there was not many to look up to. And if you had some that were looking up to some, they had their own relationship that they've built over the years. One of the things that I, as pastor in the Bronx, is trying to make sure that our men's ministry is strong enough to hold our young men in the palm of their hand so that way they can identify and see what real men look like. Because what we see on TV, what they see on social media, is a model of what they think men should be. But we are the everyday men, right? We go to work, we take care of our families, take care of our loved ones, we provide for ourselves, and we create opportunities and moments for them to understand what does education look like, what does it mean to be successful. And so I think we have to learn in this space, but also in church as well too, that men have to show up, right? You need to come to church. You need to come to church. You wonder why most of our young black boys are being raised by black women is because they show up, right? We have to show up in spaces where we know that we can be effective in.
What's up, y'all? All I wanted to really say is, first of all, I like to stay behind the scenes, so this is like a first for me, sitting here. So I'm breaking a lot of barriers right now.
You looking good, brother.
And at the end of the day, that's what we have to do. We have to learn as men that we need each other. And a lot of things that goes on in the world is like you have a president here, you have an assemblyman here, you have somebody who works in different forms of life, but we do it by ourselves. We don't trust in each other, we don't confide in each other, we don't work with each other, we don't build with each other. And one thing that our young men have to see is more and more black men together, working together, because at the end of the day, many of them have lost hope. Many of them don't want to do anything. All they want to do is maybe play sports, entertainment. Everybody want to be a drill rapper or a rapper now. Everybody's looking on Instagram trying to be a fake investor. But at the end of the day, there's so many factions of life that we can really accomplish and take over, because it doesn't matter what we do, we're always going to be looked at a certain way. It doesn't matter what your title is in the world, we're always going to be looked down on in certain aspects. So even for me, sitting around these brothers today is just building my character and building my confidence, because I really don't like doing this. And I know there's a lot of gentlemen out here who really don't want to step outside of their shell. But you're needed. We are needed. And so in order for us to break barriers, we have to step out of our shell.
I just want to say one last thing quickly, and it occurred to me. I tell all the kids that I work with, you know what, your interview started well before you walked in front of the person that you're interviewing with. They're looking at the way you dress. They're looking at the way you would speak to people. They look whether you have manners or not. But the issue in terms of mentorship is how we as black men show up in our communities. When we walk in our communities, how we dress, how we present ourselves, the things that we say, the things that we don't say, how we treat our women, how we respond to other people's children. That is a modeling opportunity that our children look at every single day. They don't necessarily hear the verbal, but there's a communication piece that takes place. And we as black men need to stand up in our communities, be in our communities everywhere we go. We need to be the model that our young brothers can look to and say, I want to be like that dude. Because we're not always going to end up in church. They're not always going to end up in my program on Saturday. They're not always going to end up whatever, but they are going to see us walking around. And so as men, we need to be thoughtful about what we say it, how we look, when we show up, how we do what we do, because that will be the model that our children will follow.
Amen. Hey, look, let's give it up to my brother Eric Clayette, but also to my brother right here. You broke the barriers, brother. You did wonderful, brother, and we're gonna encourage you too, brother. And family, let's be very clear. Let's get his brother a round of applause, right? There you go. There you go. Because see, the one thing about black men, we don't do that enough. That's correct. By telling the brother, you look good, you smile, beautiful smile, you're beautiful, you're a king, right? And so we don't do that often. And so as a college president, I'm a father of 2 young kings, and one of the things I would say from what these brothers just described is that we got to be very clear on the delineation between father and son or daughter. I'm not your friend. I'm your daddy, right? I'm not just your father, I'm your daddy. I put those clothes on you, you ate this morning, you got a warm bed to sleep in. And we gotta be real clear, because this time frame is like everybody, like my son's got on the phone, somebody, what's up, dude? Or, yo, hold on, man. If he doesn't even address me by dad, like, good morning, dad, I say, who are you talking to? So we got to create the right barriers and the right messaging to our young people. But then at the institutional level, higher ed, we got to go through a whole holistic approach, because it's very difficult that we don't bring the whole family into the educational process, right? Because it's hard for a dad to talk to his son about mathematics if he doesn't have his high school diploma. It's hard to have the conversation with the mother and the son about finances if she doesn't have a bank account and she doesn't understand what does that mean. So we're taking a holistic approach. So when we do these programs and mentoring, let's bring the whole family around. Let's make sure that everybody wins. And so at our institution, as an adult learning institution, we've got mothers and daughters and fathers and sons that are graduating together. Together they're rising. And so that's the whole key for me from a higher ed standpoint, is that it's not just about that student. How's your mother doing? How's your father doing? And really getting and pulling back the onion to make sure that son or that daughter is supported when they leave an institution of higher ed and go back home. What are those things that they're dealing with?
I just want to, I apologize. I just want to, something happened recently where I want to echo on that. I think it was Coach Rick Pitino, and he's a famous basketball coach, and he was talking about what has changed about recruiting. And I'm bringing this up because it's also about perception can become reality, right? And one thing he brought up was back in the day when he was recruiting in basketball all over the country, it was usually the single mom. He only had to deal with the mom and the grandmother, and that was it. He actually said the difference now is the fathers are there, right? And he was talking about how fathers are more present, and he was like that was something different for him. And the NFL draft is coming up, and they always like to bring that trauma story of the young man who had nothing, and that story needs to be told, right. But they don't talk about the story about the father that was coach. You know, I'm a baseball coach for my boys in my district, right? I was a youth coach because youth coaches meant something to me when I played baseball and football and basketball and ran track. And so suddenly the perception that the black man is not there is really a myth in many ways. It's just that it doesn't meet the narrative that they want and put us in within that box. And to what Brother Floyd was saying was that we need to break out of that shell, break out of that box, which is contained by sometimes the media, contained by social media. And we need to go out there and have those conversations, have a president of a university, have people in church having that conversation so we can demand that you see what we're doing and not trying to put that perception on us and letting people know our true reality. So we need to make sure we uplift those black fathers and echo and magnify them, because that story is equally as important to everything else we're talking about, so people know that it does exist. Amen.
Another piece I want to add about mentoring that I think sometimes we miss is mentoring is a two-way relationship. While we may choose young people, they have to also choose us back.
True.
And I think one of the essential pieces of that is that we have to be willing to go where they are, opposed to always expecting them to come to where we want them to be. And there has to be a mutual bending. I grew up in the South. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. And I grew up in a multi-generational home whereby I was taught, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, things of that nature. When I moved to New York 10 years ago, that wasn't the case. It was a little bit different. But those values still hold true. And you have to be the standards bearer wherever we go. The second piece I want to offer is that as I look around this room and we're having a discussion about young people, there are none in here.
Usman's here.
And I make that claim. I make that claim because those two came with me. I drug them here. I drug them here, and I make that assertion because we're often having conversations about them and not with them.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we be willing as men of stature and all the different endeavors that we excel in, be willing to bring young people with us so that they can hear the conversations that are taking place about them, so that they may then have conversations with their peers and say, hey, there are some brothers, I don't know what they was talking about for real. They had some suits on. They had me in this little room. They were saying some things about us that really resonate with me. And then they bring their friends with them. And it has to be a rolling effect where we're willing not to only go to where they are, but we're willing to bring them with us. Because that then changes their narrative. This idea of counter storytelling, where they're able to say, all of our aunts and uncles and fathers are not in prison. They're not selling drugs. They're not gang banging. But there's some brothers who really want to do some stuff with us. So I think it's important that we sometimes think through this idea of mutual bending and have this notion that they have to choose us as well. And in that choosing, we have to be responsible enough to choose them back and walk them along the journey and usher them into their next.
Right. Amen.
So we will be going to Q&A for the audience of the panel in just a few minutes, but a few more questions before we get there. One more to the group in general. I'd love for brothers who feel strongly and passionate to raise their hand and speak. How do we create economic pathways, not just opportunities for black men to build stability and wealth?
I'll weigh in on that. As a person who can thank Michael Garner for giving me an opportunity to work in the MTA with the MWBE program. I had a great privilege to interview so many minority women-owned firms that provided various capital construction services, professional service contracts for the MTA in different levels. We need to create greater pathways for our youth to pursue those type of careers. I'll give you a story. My grandmother often, when we would go to various networking events, she would always spotlight the different men of color in their professional background. She would say, this one went to college, and this one had, and I was telling Dr. here about that earlier, the importance of education. Well, we need to instill in our youth the importance that education leads to economic opportunities. You can monetize that education if you know exactly what you want to do and how you want to apply that skill set. How do we create better pathways? We need to change the policies in our state government to increase contracting opportunities for minority firms. We need to ensure that minority firms are paid promptly. It's required that they be paid 30 days by the time the agency cuts the check. They never get it in 30 days. So we need to address those challenges right now and also change our tax system so that way when we do have entrepreneurs and they are able to generate economic output, they can enjoy the fruits of their labor and not be taxed completely. We have to make sure we find ways to keep the wealth in our community.
There are a couple other things that we need to be thinking about. Economic solvency is layered. So right out of school, we as the organizations, we should be thinking about pipeline opportunities to have corporate entities lined up and say, we have an internship lined up for you, so you can learn how to do a particular task at a particular institution. Right? There's that pathway. So we need to set up pathways with our corporate entities, people that we have opportunities. That's a pipeline line. The other side of it, we need to learn about basic finance and business. We need to get all of the brilliant African-American, non-African American financiers, the billionaires that we work with on a day-to-day basis to sit around and have a fireside chat and tell us the secrets. Yeah. Do you know that if you borrow money, that's not taxable income? Oh, so I'm not taxed on the money that I borrowed. So if I borrowed $1 million, I'm not taxed on having that, and I can use that $1 million to buy something else. That's important information to know. Did you know that business owners get taxed at a lower tax bracket than somebody that's an individual? Those are little secrets that our black community, boys and girls, may or may not have access to. So we need to have these roundtable situations where people who are financiers, they understand the loopholes. They understand why having a business that throws off income, generates income on a monthly basis or weekly basis, on a turnover basis, is the right kind of business to have, because it's always generating capital for you. Those are the stories that our kids need to hear very, very early and often. Those are the stories that our men need to hear early and often. Those are the stories that our senior elders that have this information need to be sharing, because that's how you pass on the wealth. We talk about the stories, oh, I could have got that brownstone for $1 60 years ago. That's not available in New York City, but it might be available in Detroit. It might be available in St. Louis. We need to think about how you develop economic engines that will support the works that you want to do. There's millions of dollars of real estate. There are millions of opportunities for black men who are super successful just to talk. But you have to be able to get us together in a room, and you have to be willing to listen.
Let me just add one comment to that.
All right, quickly.
Thank you, brother. You know, and I love my two colleagues, and they're absolutely right. I just water it down a little bit more. Because when we talk about the youth, and brother, I really appreciate that we should see more of our youth, and so that they can see this in action and put some of those things in their toolboxes. But a very simple exercise. I don't think our young people see enough within themselves to see the bigger picture.
That's correct.
Right? And so I think that some very basic exercises that I actually practiced when I was coming up was creating a vision board, right? Where do you see yourself in 15, 20 years? What do you see your future like? And be able to visualize your success. I mean, you know, if we can't see it, you can't achieve it. So we got to be able to extend our young people's vision besides just the screen. Right? They got to actually get in there and start touching it. And at MCNY, our model is very simple. It is a purpose-centered education model, which means we take theory and we put it to practice. So we got to be able to take what they learn in these classrooms and put it in practice to get that hands-on experience. But if we don't be able to allow them to create their vision and not create it for them, then will they really achieve their dream and expectations? Thank you.
And Pastor Boyd, I want you to get the last one on this
one. I agree with everyone here. I think it goes back to the foundations, right? We teach our children at a young age to put money away into a little piggy bank. However, we don't teach our children what to do with that money once they save that money. I've witnessed it. It's been done to me. You know, as a young kid, mom trying to make ends meet. Put your money into this credit union. But then when the bills need to be paid, hey, I'm going to go take $50 from there because I got to go pay the light bill. You know. But I think we have to figure out how to discipline our minds and discipline our children enough to let them know what does money do for you and how can money work for you and you not work for money. I remember going to college, and I thought, you know, if I got a credit card and didn't pay it back, you know, it would help my credit score. But ain't no one teach me anything. You know, I had to learn these things on my own. You know, I didn't know what it meant to go purchase a home and find these loans to help me, you know, with that. I didn't know what it meant to not live above my means, you know. And so I thought I saw the money, but there really was no money, if it makes any sense. And so I think we have to teach our young men and our young women, right, our children, how to financially prepare themselves for life after high school. And here it is, teach them while they're in middle school, teach them in junior high school, right? As a former educator for 14 years, I watched so many of my students, so many of my scholars come to school with Louis Vuitton on, Balenciaga sneakers on, with Burberry. They were so enamored by the designer, they did not understand the amount of money they were wasting and where they could have put that money. And had they taken that $1,300 pair of sneakers and taking that money and putting it into a Roth IRA, right, then we would see them living better in their lives. So I think we have to educate our children at an earlier age.
Yeah. And these are, wrap it up. These are the last three questions. They're going to be pointed questions to individuals on the panel before we go to Q&A. Please, 30 seconds or less in your response. This is about what must change now. So to Reverend Blake, to start, what is one policy or investment that would immediately change outcomes for black men?
I'm going to answer that question. Are you part of the Floyd family? Much love. I saw I want to honor that space with George Floyd's family in the building, because I saw y'all right there, so much honor right there, okay? To Rev's point itself, and following along on the Roth IRA, which also you should look at traditional IRAs as well, you need to be hiring your kids. People don't understand this. It is absolutely permitted to hire your kids, open your own small business, hire your children. You get a lot of tax write-offs by doing so. And too often we have these conversations, people are like, well, I'm not supposed to be doing that. Actually, you are. You are. Second, though, to that point, we need to be intentional of investing our money. And I'm not just meaning in an investment standpoint, but how you spend your money when it comes to black business. I had a conversation with someone earlier this week. Some of y'all know we do a huge activation called Kairos on Martha's Vineyard every August. And there was someone who was like, they wanted to go to one company or another, and they chose the non-black company because of a $10,000 difference on the offer. And I said, you would have changed the game for that black business if you'd have just went with them. And so both of those points to your comment here, hire your children as part of your small businesses. It will have a substantial impact financially in your communities. And be intentional in how you spend your money when it comes to black business. You do both of those simultaneously, it's necessary. And why is that critical? Because you have others right now that are saying they should not be putting money in black business. It should not be us doing the same thing.
Thank you. To Brother Rashawn, what responsibility do we have individually and collectively to change the narrative and the outcomes? Brother Flake?
Oh, what'd you say? Sorry.
Yeah. What responsibility do we have individually and collectively to change the narrative and the outcomes for black men?
One of the things I would think about for especially the young men is to stop spoiling them. Many of these young, not only are they rich in what they wear, but the way they think. They think they got money. They think they got it right now. And we're not really giving them the opportunities or giving them other insights. It's just, oh, he's young. It'll be all right. He has time to think about it. And before you know it, you're 21. Before you know it, 25, and doing nothing with their lives or doing nothing with our lives. So we have to take them out of that spoiled nine-mindedness, if that's a word. We just have to, get back to teaching each other responsibility.
Thank you. And this last one to Dr. Lester. What are we ignoring that we already know is hurting black men?
Oh, wow.
That's a capital question.
That's a major question.
I'm just saying.
One of the things I think about often is our neglect of community and how we think about how we do things together. I think oftentimes we fail, I think my brother Clyde mentioned it earlier, of having someone in the group chat that you can talk to. Having folk around you that have similar struggles and similar wins as you to help you think through your next move in life. I'm extremely fortunate to be a part of one of the greatest fraternities in the world, Alpha Phi Alpha.
Oh man, I think you said Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated.
But to Brother Flake's point earlier, it's been so beautiful to be among one of the younger brothers in the chapter and to be around other accomplished men who are excellent men in their endeavors. Not only are they excellent in medicine, excellence in law, excellent in business, I've seen where they were excellent fathers. I've seen where they've been excellent husbands to their wives. I've seen where they've been exceptional elder statesmen in our chapter, in our community, particularly in Harlem, and that has trickled down to the ways in which I think about my work. Honestly speaking, as a transplant, living here for almost 10 years, that has helped me to navigate Harlem and other areas in a beautiful way. I also think about brother pastors on the panel when I think about ensuring that our faith and our spiritual practices, and what do those look like? I often think about myself as one who does education through theological lenses. Wow. And I challenge other black men and other brothers to think about what are the things that what are the questions that keep them up at night? What are the things that cause them to want to be doing meaningful work in our communities and within our families? And I also would argue, too, back to another piece that Brother Pastor said earlier, is that our first ministry is to our family. And ensuring that if our families are intact, the best way that we know how, because many of us know that we got some jacked up families. If we're honest. But tending to our own home first, so that we may now be a conduit to help others, may be a way that we think through those pieces. So having my seminary professor, Gregory Ellison, would say, have a community of reliable others. Have other folk you can call on to help you think through things, to help you feel things, to help you process the stuff that you're experiencing on your job, with your families, in your academic endeavors. Community of reliable others, I will argue, is the way that we address that question.
Thank you, Dr. Lester. I do want to open it up now for Q&A. We will have a mic floating around, and while the brother, we'll take about 5 questions. There's been a lot of talk of Alpha Phi Alpha. I do want to know Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated is the greatest fraternity in all of the land. I just wanted to know that
part. Bless your life.
Looks like we'll have a small line forming here. We'll have time for about 5 questions, and then I'm going to have one last question to the entire panel that everyone will have a closing statement to say.
Hi, good evening, gentlemen.
If you don't mind stating your name and specifically a question to someone. Oh, yeah, just a question to someone specifically.
Okay. I had a learning disability. I got left back in the 5th grade and the 10th grade. And when I went back to school, and what helped me is when I went to ministry school twice. I shut my TV down, I shut the radio off, and I had to get on my knees and ask God, where is it? But the answers was right there. It was right there in the book. I'm still struggling a little bit, but I got better by reading. I tell my 40-year-old daughter, you have to read. My sons are very bright, and they're very educated men, and we have to keep on. I'm going back to get my associate's degree at BMCC, because that's where I have my credits at. And they asked me a question, what am I going to do better when I come back here if they allow me to come back? So I am going to get better, and I needed, no, I'm just making a statement. I needed it, I got better, like I said, by reading the Bible, by shutting off the radio and shut it down. We have to continue as people come out of retirement, as parents, grandparents. We have to get in there and help our children that are struggling today.
Amen.
Thank you. And real quick, before we go to the next person, I do want to encourage the young man at the back of the line, if he doesn't mind coming forward, just because we are trying to encourage the young man. If he can get the next question, we'll continue on the line.
No, young man.
The young man.
Not you, brother. Not you.
You're young in spirit, my brother. You're young in spirit.
Come on now. I mean, what's he doing? You know ain't nobody was there.
Oh, Lord.
Gotta be a question.
Hi. Hi, my name is Mark. I am with National Clean Water Collective, Nourish Ozone Community Garden. I want to pose a question to all the men here. I'm currently working on building a community garden in South Ozone Park. Mr. Khalil probably would know about it. I was hoping if some of the men could help us build or even attend this community garden that I'm trying to build for young men and women in general. It helped me build my confidence in coming out and speak and doing this work. So I just want to know if these men can support us, if it'll be able to go to that next level.
Absolutely. Khalil, that's your district, man.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your work in South Ozone Park. That is a part of my assembly district in Queens, just for everybody's reference. And I'm really excited because part of my start as a community organizer, I did urban agriculture, and I built a half-acre urban farm in my district because I saw the need in which to provide healthy food and alternatives to the bag of chips that are easier to get, but the apple that's very difficult, or the grapes that are hard to get, but the Twinkies that are easier to get. And so this is a passion of mine. And when I studied guerrilla growing and urban ag in the 1970s and the 80s, that movement took back public land and allowed us in our communities to grow in spaces so that we could feed ourselves and grow ourselves. So to answer your question, bring me out. I'm happy to support. And if it's a viable project, certainly want to help fund and resource it as well.
I just want to add to that real quick. Follow up on that discretionary funding. Your city, know who your city council member is, your state assembly, your state senate. In my district, I'm known for my community cleanups. I hate illegal dumping. You know, to me, a cleaner Bronx is a safer Bronx. 1600, 1520 Cedric Avenues, where I've done a lot of work with young people. If you get that going, you can also then hire young people. To this brother's point, to Michael's point, about hiring young people through UICD and other programs. And like in my district, Zonia Ortiz runs a small garden. She has dates and all this fruit that she grows. So you can have a multiplying effect, right? You can have, you're creating a green space that's healthier air, but then you're also creating a place where kids can learn about botany and science. And you might be then creating the next scientist who's gonna create a fresh market or own a supermarket in our district. So your efforts can combine to really change the lives of your district. So please, it's gonna be a long slog, but keep working through it, all right?
If you want 100 black men, young man, if you want 100 black men to come help you, come get here's my card, call me.
I'll come to the phones also.
I'm going to jump in real quick. Sorry about that. One of the things I heard throughout this conference is that we're resource rich, but coordination poor. And I bring that up because before this, I was the National Youth and College Field Director for National Action Network. I currently serve as a legislative director in the New York State Assembly, so on and so forth. But one of the things that young people lack is that we hear mentorship, but there's not a direct access to the opportunities that we need. And sometimes the opportunities that we do need is not resource and not funded as well. And one of the questions I have is, what are some specific opportunities that you all know about or that you can provide to a young person in here? We do have young people here, they're next door. They have their own panel going on, and some of them are getting ready for the fashion show later on. But it is live streamed. We have people watching all over. What are some resources specifically that's funded that could put money in their pockets that you all can offer?
I want to pass that. I want to make sure I highlight the Junior 100 program. Eric, you want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so our Junior 100 program is we have a legacy component that's 17 weeks where we work with kids 17 weeks, every weekend, opportunities available to all kids in New York City, period. Within our Junior 100 profile, we also have a mentor program that's specific to STEM. It's every other Saturday, open to everybody in New York City. We also have a program that's set up specifically for finance. So we do what's called the Wall Street Game, open to all New York boys and girls every other Saturday. So there are a number of opportunities available. And as I said before, you can go to 100 Black Men, go to our website, you can call me directly, and I'd be happy to kind of direct your young people to our programming opportunities. And beyond that, the pipeline conversation that I had about going to, a number of different corporations for resource and work, we do that as well. It's part of our process in our Junior 100 profile of youth programming. Brother Blake?
I was looking back, I wanted to confirm this. Your algorithm will help to this question. On Instagram, there's an account that I follow all the time. It's called Black Tech Saturdays. And it will intentionally open up grants that are available for Black and brown businesses. And usually what will happen is once you start scrolling through that, you will have another wave of other grants that will start to emerge that you can apply for. So I would encourage people, there's many different options out there, but Black Tech Saturdays is one of those entities. Second, every Wednesday, we do a 1-hour call as part of our Kairos network for exactly that. So if you go to our, our-kairos.com. Our-kairos.com. Kairos. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. A good alpha man right there. All right. So our-kairos.com. Every Wednesday, we do a Kairos conversation around conscious capitalism. But to your question, Black Tech Saturdays is one of the entities that they are always releasing new grants, not loans, grants for Black businesses, and they will activate other accounts that you can then find for more grants to go find.
Good evening, or good afternoon. I'm Mylinda Lee. I want to commend all y'all as Black men. Thank you. I am a single mom, and the majority of people in this room are single moms. Raise your hand if you're a single mom right quick. All right. The point I'm trying to ask y'all, we need access to come to your office. We don't need a politician to walk down the block and say hi, and we greet them and we come and we be a constituent. To actually need help in our community for our Black men, not just youth, but Black males. From the ages of 40 to 62, there are so many Black males in our community that are mentally challenged or physically challenged. So the need for y'all to address them as well, to say, did you not learn financial securities? Did you not know the math? Did you not know not to just be a consumer? We need you to address that now too, because all of us, if you look at the face of us today, it's not the face that it used to be. So there are a few of us today here to represent all of us, but when we go out there in the street tomorrow, the face doesn't look like ours. So as much as y'all are helping our youth, we are all youth. We are all with special needs. Special needs is in the building.
Yeah, can I just say,
Go ahead, bro.
I would love to say, my sister, right, Dr. Raymond, raise your hand. Dr. Raymond is my Vice President for Enrollment Management and Student Success. What you just described is the population that we serve. And so some of those brothers probably need a high school diploma, some of them probably need an associate's degree, and they need some wraparound service to release some of that muscle memory. I would love to talk with you how we can help those brothers in your community, and we'll invite you to our campus in East 149th Street and 3rd Avenue. Dr. Raymond, raise your hand. Please see that brother right there, and we'll make sure we get connected, all right?
The other thing I want to highlight, Khalil and I, with the leadership of Chantel Jackson, who represents the 79th District and is the the chairperson of the Black Task Force, has done something that is historic, which was $30 million going to Black serving organizations across New York State. Over 148 organizations received grants and or funding between $25,000 and $250,000. Out of that, a large number was capacity building, and a tremendous number of that was specifically towards mental health services and mentoring, specifically in the Black space. We also have another $30 million in this One House budget, and we hope to get it done with the governor in this year. So that means in that 2-year period, with the leadership of Chantel Two Chairs Jackson on the Black Task Force, we are looking at a total of $60 million specifically. And that's not even going towards other programs that we fund, discretionary funding, the executive budget and everything. This is specific to our community where we have organizations on the ground that are doing the work. Is it enough? No, I need $1 billion, absolutely. However, we are working. Khalil, myself, he will tell you I'm in my office till 1 o'clock in the morning reading bills, which is our first job. I'm fighting for the budget, but right now we are doing those things, but we can always do more. And I'm on the street because I think the people seeing you on the street is equally as important as when I write my legislation and I write my budgets, because so often people tell me like, yo, you're like the first elected official to ever knock on my door. You're the first elected official who ever came, you come to River Park Towers. A lot of elected officials are afraid to come to River Park Towers. I show up anywhere and everywhere where my district needs, and I'm always going to continue doing that, ma'am.
All right, so I'm being told we are running out of time, but a lot of the brothers will be. Hold on.
I really do. I'll be very brief and to the point, but I've been very frustrated.
Let's
because
give
I've gone through this the last several years. I was a career tech coordinator for the Board of Education for 10 years. My job was to prepare students for internships and technology so they could get careers. Now, everybody always told them, don't do anything in sports. Jewish teachers always used to say, forget sports, you won't make any money. Okay, let me tell you something. taught us tennis, they taught us about golf and everything, and he made $1 million. He said to me, when you go to the Board of Education, Valerie, I want you to teach your students that stuff. My students protested vehemently. I don't care.
What's the point, ma'am?
I can sports. I can talk about.
I'll finish. All of those students, I took them to ESPN. They met Stephen A. Smith. I took them to MTV.
Okay.
They met
Uh-huh.
the black and Spanish men that worked behind the camera.
What's the question, ma'am?
Told them to go and get degrees, and they were in
Yes.
sports management, and they all make over $100.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Wait,
Give her a
wait,
round of
wait.
applause. Thank you. Thank you.
Wait.
No, ma'am, you have to sit down.
Let her finish. Let's get that question out.
Okay,
So
thank
wait.
you so
Wait.
much.
Hold on one second. I want it from the business of sports. I am the president of the only black sports TV network in the country. So when we talk about the business of sports, there's a lot that can be done besides just being the athlete, in which my best friend also played in the NFL for 8 years. There is a network. We are called Next Level Sports Entertainment, NLSE.com. We are in 32 million homes across the country. Why is this important? Because 87 of the 100 shows that were the highest viewed shows last year on any TV platform were NFL football games. So this year, for World Cup, where the final is in New York, or for the Olympics in 2028, one of the things we created was a black lacrosse league. So if you see Next Collegiate Lacrosse, that is us. Why? Because lacrosse is the third fastest sport in the country. I'm saying this to say, someone does not just have to be the athlete. I was trained in sports journalism. So if you or anyone else in this room want to talk with young people or anyone about the business of sports, Next Level Sports Entertainment, NLSE.com. Our owner is a black man named Andre Gudger. I am happy to talk with anyone in this room about that, because at the end of the day, we cannot just be the players, we gotta be the owners.
We don't want to ignore the questions being had, but we do have another event happening in a couple minutes in here, and so the brothers will be around for a couple minutes if folks want to ask specific questions. But I did want to go down the line, but I'll just pose this one question once again to Dr. Lester. In one sentence, what does protecting the promise of black men look like in real life? And this is where we'll end off here.
What's protecting the promise is unity, our ability to come together, love on each other, walk with each other, hold hands with each other, and listen to each other.
Can we get a round of applause for our panelists, please?
Thank you. Let's give them one big real hand. We're going to take a group picture with them. And then we all have to exit this room and go across the hallway. Thank you for joining us. Everybody stand here. Excuse me, please. Everybody stand. We're going to go right here so we can take our group picture.
Black Tech Saturdays is the link to check out.
Where is the Nan? Yeah, there he is. Everybody come on. Usman. Usman, come up. All right, gentlemen, let's all pack in here. All the brothers, y'all pack in. Is Usman up here? Okay, everybody shift down this way just a little bit. Shift down, shift down.